Hey everybody, welcome back, happy Friday. Hey yo, hey Sinistella, Darkstorm, Bigfoot. I am doing well. We've got a fun morning coming up. I'm going to be finishing the Paladin and then we're going to be interviewing Melmsie. And I am pretty sure the interview, is at 11, which means 2 hours and 20 minutes of uptime. Read more using interviews. Yeah. Let me also just ping Melmsie. I am pretty sure he'll have remembered, but just a quick reminder. Our interview is in about 2 hours, 20 minutes. Looking forward to it. Happy face. Okay. Cool. Cool. September 6th, right? Yeah. All right. Well, we came up with who is Melmsie. There's the interviews document, which talks a little bit more about it. So he's created Dank Memer, which is a very, very popular bot on Discord. And I would say that's his sort of primary identifier at this point. And then also this vice president of experience at CyberInfo. I broke the revive function. I just quickly looked at my email, but I'll probably take a look at that at some other point. But it's good that you noticed that because I probably just never would have noticed. Anyway, this code the new holy light healing. So we came up with something kind of interesting the other day and I tweeted about it, which I like rarely tweet. And in this gist, we have the problem description. So this is what we were working on, which was we have this party of adventurers and we want to heal them in such a way that we bring them all up to the same life percentage if we can. And we came up with something the other day and it wasn't very good. And then we did the brute force way. And then Ski posted something here that like mostly worked, but then we found an issue with it and we've been talking about this on Discord. So I want to code the correct way now. I don't think there's any yet. All right. And hey, Zankabitzer. Let's see. I think Ski wrote the newest thing here, but I think all we need to do. Let me find this. Okay, this. Just getting all this together. Mostly worked. Yeah, hey Ski. Yeah, mostly worked. It's hard because I only had a few examples, and the examples were things that I could do by hand. But yeah, anyway, should be easy enough. Work with everything organized like you and Liz. I mean, you can. If you want to start, you could start right now. Just find a note-taking app that you already use or that you like, and just make a to-do.txt or something like that, and then see what works for you. Because a lot of me doing this was just trial and error and learning what works and what doesn't. And yeah, just followed it right now. Yeah. All right, well, we're going to go do the same thing. So we got to go to Holy Light Buff. Oh, I got to change the YouTube chat thing. There we go. Okay, so we need to sort. Oh, drat, I had that code. Yeah, I know about Notion, but still. But that's the thing, right? It's just a matter of you've got to put time in somewhere. It's not like someone's going to, magically make you organized. And I don't say this with disrespect or anything. It's just you're the one who's got to take that effort. And it's not that hard. At least it's not that hard to get started. Didn't actually need to do any sorting as the removal happens before you do any healing. Yes, the sorting is so that you don't need to. Wait. Let me just read your solution because I'm pretty sure it's just to save it's better asymptotic time complexity. Excuse me. So let's take a look at what happens here. We go for each and we remove them and then we call this function again. Yeah. So this is what's happening. You're iterating over these potentially like in an n squared way. And it'd be slightly better, I guess, if you kept track of the last index in this and then and then used a sorted array for it. But it's negligible. So I think I'm going to probably just do it the way that you'd done this here too. Yeah. Keep in mind we do other stuff in the code that might affect the values. Something might be changed in the wrong order at some point. What do you mean, Darkstorm? Because I think the way we're doing this should be good. All right, so possible targets. We need to figure out the party target percent life. Then we need to prune any characters. So we need to do this in a loop. So I guess we'll say possible. Actually, how would we do this? We could prune the list. Yeah, possible. Oh my God. Party target percent life equals prune targets until all can be healed to the same life percentage. I'm just gonna make this a really stupidly long function name. I assume there are no other external factors, like some character gets more healing if healed. Oh, I see what you're saying. Actually, technically, yes, that could be the case, but I'm not gonna worry about that. Yeah, in fact, that's already possible. Well, it's not technically possible, but there's a, what is it called? Blessing of Haste. Yeah, this can increase the healing that a target receives. But technically, this is either on your entire party or it's on nobody. But yeah, in the future, there could be something like this that's only on one of the characters, and then we're not going to worry about it. But I also think that wouldn't break your expectations as a player. Suppose you have characters that are at like 10%, 30%, and 50%, and this one has a buff. So this gets double healing. When their final life bars end up at 60%, 90%, and 50%, you'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Whoops, and 60%. You'd be like, oh, the other one's got healed fine, but this one had a buff on them that makes them get healed more. So I think it'd be okay. Did you add a few more words? And yo didn't think this was descriptive enough. All right, so we're going to take in the possible targets. And actually, this isn't ever used anywhere else, right? No and no. Yeah. So I guess what this is really doing then is it's going to be... No, I think that's fine. Yeah, okay. I think we can just do this. Thanks. All right, now we do private float prune. We take in a list of nodes, possible targets. And then we need to remove any that are above this. Yeah, this goes here. Okay. So target life equals, no, we just need to know their percentage, I guess. So if hc.percent life, yeah, that's it, is greater than or equal to the target life, target percent life, then remove it. Gotta fix the syntax highlighting here. It's all broken. We should see some yellow appear, and if we don't, then it means... Oh, there it goes. Yeah, nice. Cool. I was going to say, it means I need to restart the whole thing. All right, total heal amount. Yeah, I guess we got to pass that in too. Float total heal amount. All right, what's the problem here? Not all code paths return a value. Yep. So this is if we removed a target. So bool did remove target equals false. And we set this to true. And before we return, otherwise just return this thing. Yeah. Okay, I think that'll work. Let's try this out. Morning, Krasner. Actually, the best way to try this out would be to just keep putting in a bunch of fake values, because otherwise I'm going to have to try to see how this works while the game is running, which I think is going to be prohibitively difficult to do. Well, we can try it once like this, and then maybe we'll be able to see if anything's wrong. So anytime there's healing done, they should all get healed to the same % life, if possible. And it won't always be possible. They don't all have the same max life. Yeah, I don't know how different they are. All right, well, I think the best way is to print out some values here so that we can actually tell what's going on. So let's do that. Okay, so for each node, get the health component and just do a print gd.print before healing for total heal amount HP. So we need the target, we need the party member, so we need to know what their adventurer component is. So gd.print AC is it, yeah, adventurer class, and then print out their life and their life %. Okay, good. Then we figure out how much we're going to try to heal them for. Yeah, just tab this in. And then print the going to heal each. How about this? Going to heal possible targets dot count targets to that much life. Yeah. And let's do this too. That way we can get the % formatting here. P0. Okay. And I should probably write this down. Note that this does not take buffs or debuffs into account. So if a single target has plus 100% healing received, then they'll end up, then they will probably end up at a much higher life percentage than the others. Yeah, because I don't care about that. Also, I think if we were to take those into account, I don't really think it would do anything for the game, and the odds of it ever mattering are also pretty slim. Okay, so what do we have here? So print the adventurer class, and then I want to print what their final healing amounts are. Final life values. All right, we get the heal amount here. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's try that. This should just tell us every single time anyone needs healing. It might not naturally cover every single potential edge case here. Like maybe one character needs to be at way lower life than the other ones, and maybe that just doesn't naturally happen because this is randomly distributed. But let's speed this up a bit and see if our prints are actually working. No, I broke something. What happened here? Value cannot be null component. Line 47. They don't have, oh, they're battlers, right? Ah, drat. There's a corresponds to adventurer component, and that has the adventurer there, and then we need to get that. Oh, that's stupid. All right, fine. See, get that. Dot adventurer, Actually, you know what? We could just slam all this stuff into here. There. It looks really stupid, but this is just for printing it out right now. All right, let's try that. This was just to be able to give us the class of this character. Otherwise, it'd be really hard to tell who's getting healed for what. So we have the Paladin, Mage, and Rogue. And I'm going to speed this up, and we're going to just look over here. Hey, Caleb. I'm doing well. How are you doing today? Is this still not working? Oh, what? I thought I changed both of these. Why is this here? I guess I don't care about this. Yeah, I didn't realize I had 3 of these. All right. Anyway, once this is done, we can worry about the mods of the skills. And that shouldn't take too long. And then maybe we can plan the summoner a little bit. All right, please tell me this is actually going to work. Do we see healing values? Yes, good. Which means that this should have printed out. Collection was modified. Line 53. Of course the collection is modified. I want it to be modified. What are we enumerating at the time, though? Oh, over here? Because, yeah, I see. All right, so this is going to be like list node targets to remove. Targets to remove dot add target. There. Finally starting to feel better. I'm glad. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, a lot of people got sick in chat. I say as I cough, although I don't feel sick. Hey, Phil. And yeah, I hope you all have swift recoveries. All right, please just work. There. All right, let's see what we got now. I'm going to just let this print out a bunch of times. In fact, let's just speed it up until it no longer prints. Yeah, there. And now let's copy paste it somewhere else. Yeah, so here are the chunks that we have here. All right, so going to heal 2 targets to 77%. The rogue is at 64%. This is at 54%. This did no healing, apparently, because I didn't actually wait until I've done the healing. There. What happened to the tab character? Oh, there it is. Yeah. We're going to heal 2 targets, final life values. This technically doesn't really tell me the full story here, because without this here... All right, I'm going to try running this now. So much more mental clarity. Yeah, that's really, it's fantastic. I've said this before, but I feel like there's always this thought in the back of my head of, what if I just never get better? What if I can never think about problems anymore, or do things or enjoy my life again? Then the sickness goes away. Someday it won't happen that way, but thankfully it's working that way now. All right, so here's all the healing that we did. Let's see if these make sense, because who knows? So the first one, we're trying to heal for 126. I guess we're always trying to heal for 126. That number will never be different. Trying to heal for 126 HP, and we got these characters. So it's targeting 70%, and they all end up at 70%. It's targeting 42%, and they all end up at 42% because the mage was higher. Ah, it's working. All right, nice. I was like, sorry, I can't think about the problem right now. Yeah. Yeah, and it's kind of sad when that happens, but that's the whole reason why you got to take a break from things when you're sick. Yeah, I think this is good. I don't know if there's any other edge case I want to try out here. I do want to take a look at it in the game, though. I just want to see if this is working, because when I tested this myself, I'm like, yeah, that looks good enough. But now I want to see, is it like even better? Is it noticeable at all? So let's have a battle run over here. Gotta wait for this to start up. There we go. there, and we're going to do the same thing that I've been doing this whole time, and we're going to speed this up, and we're going to just take a look at their life values. Yeah, I think it's good. Okay, now let's stop that, and let's look at some of these numbers that we got. And there's no easy way to select all this, is there? How do you do this? Copy all. It's weird. It doesn't function like a regular console. I can't just click and drag. It forgets about some of my selections. Okay, so before healing, we can just put a new line above this. And that way they're separated into chunks here. Let's just take a look at all of this. So we're trying to heal the 99%, and we do. Try to heal the 99%, and we do. Is there a problem with healing to 99%? Also, why is this 162 HP all of a sudden? 126 before. What could do that? We level up to 10 every time, right? Oh, I just changed the number. Oh my God, right, of course. God, I changed this from 3.5 to 4.5, which means it got slightly stronger. Yeah, great. So yeah, is there a problem healing them to not full? Is it that they're just missing too much? 365 minus 288.5, I guess. Plus 305 minus 266. Plus 335 minus 276 point, I'll say 5 again. It's 174. Okay, so we need 12 life more than what we have. So that means that they should be missing about 12 life. There's 4.5. There's 4. There's, yeah, 4. Okay, that's correct. Okay, what about this one? Tried healing to 99% and did. Tried healing to 100% and did. Yep, 100%, 96%, yep. All of this is looking good. In almost all of these cases, though, we healed all of the party members. Actually, so far in all of them, yes. Are there any that we didn't need to heal them all? No, I just exited before that. Is there a key point in output damage numbers where a human mind appreciates growth the most? Or conversely, if the numbers are too small, is it unimpressive or too large, hard to comprehend? I think the last one definitely happens, the too hard to comprehend things. There are lots of idle games that go into this sort of inhuman numbers of like 1 times 10 to the 37th power. And when you see something of like 1 times 10 to the 38th power, I think because of how infrequently most people look at exponents, they think, oh, this is only slightly better, but it's actually 10 times better. And it's just really, really difficult to naturally comprehend those magnitudes of numbers. Like at no point in your life have you ever seen 1 times 10 to the 37th of something. So like, it just doesn't happen unless you're talking about it like a molecular level or something. Actually, no, even then, what was I talking about? Avogadro's number is like to the 23rd, right? 6.022, whatever. Yeah. Number of particles in 1 mole of any substance. Even then, I don't know how you look at all of them at once. Yeah, so anyway, something that was kind of interesting is Paper Mario, the original one, really never had damage numbers above like 10. There is no picture of this, is there? Ah, there we go. Yeah. So your HP started at 10, which meant that enemies did 1 or 2 to you. And it was very easy to understand and easy to count. And I think even toward the end of the game, maybe an enemy could do like 15. But yeah, it's not like other RPGs where it would cap out at like 9,999. Yeah. Hey, Boss Orange. Hey, Two Dorks. They knew exactly who their audience was. Yeah, and I think it worked well for the game. I think that you should always probably use the smallest numbers that allow your game to make sense. And it's not always true that you can use like 10 HP and have integer values of like 1 damage or 2 damage, because this means you can never take 15% damage. And maybe you want that rate, the variance in your game. So at that point, you need to change this to a number that could divide evenly, or you need to start doing like 1.3 damage or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, I think lots and lots of games started going with a let's just throw gigantic numbers at people. Yeah, you're doing 10 trillion damage, and I don't know if that helps. Right, but 1 or 2 now unimpressive. Well, I think that the game can just make it so that eventually, instead of doing 1 or 2, you're starting to do 16 or 17, and you feel like you had some power progression there. Even though relative to your enemies, you're probably still doing the same percent amount of damage. Okay, so we got to cut all these things out. Just the prints that I had. This was just to print things out. This is to print things out. Really should have copy pasted everything before that, huh? Make sure I didn't break anything. Providing the perception of growth that's important. Assuming there's growth in the game, yes. I think that's important. And I think lots of games will do this in kind of clever ways sometimes. So typically in an RPG, there will be some tiny amount of backtracking at the very least, so that when your characters are 10 levels higher than what they started at, you'll be able to go to the starter zone and like wipe things out that you couldn't wipe out before. And that's sort of proof that you've gotten stronger. Or maybe some other, I know a lot of Super Nintendo games, maybe not a lot, but some started this way where you start out the game and you get to see what a high level character can do. And then you're thrown into your character, which is like level 1. And then you're like, oh, I have a lot of power I need to gain. And that's kind of what MMOs bank on, is that you're in this massive shared world. So you, when you're level 1, are going to start seeing level 50 people, and you're gonna be like, whoa, look at their gear, look at how strong they look, and that again makes you want to get to that level. So yeah, I think that's part of the number scaling and growth. I think it's just don't get it to a ludicrous amount. Okay, so I want to write down how this works somewhere. Probably this. Okay, so given targets and an amount of life to heal, this will take out any targets that shouldn't receive any healing. The way this works is that we calculate a target life percentage for the entire party to be at. And any targets above that amount will get pruned. However, then we need to recalculate the target life percentage, which is why this is recursive. You level up and gain more abilities, but your enemies generally scale with you. Yeah, and D&D is another one of those times where I feel like I didn't play a lot of it, but I don't think damage numbers get to be like 10,000 or something. I think you're always doing dice rolls, and the dice you have only go up to 100 or something. So like probably you're not doing crazy amounts of damage. All right, so get the total life so that we can figure out the target percentage. I wonder if we even need to do things this way. Yeah, we probably do. I'm not even gonna think about this. Whatever, who cares? Did remove target is just if we had targets to remove over here, so we can just get rid of this. If this dot any, or if this dot count is greater than 0. Yeah, so now we don't need this. J-Rock, thanks for resubbing. Welcome back. Yeah, you were last here about 8 months ago, 7 months ago. So nice to see you again. Or at least that's when you were last chatting. Can't tell when you were last here. All right, targets to remove. Get the health component. If the percent life is greater than this, just remove them. Okay, yeah. I think we're pretty good, yeah. Ooh. Well, that was a lot. We spent a lot of time on this one ability. And I think what most people would have done is either use the brute force way, which was working, or they would have just changed the game design. And I'm glad we didn't change the game design, because that's always an option, but it's like, yeah, you're making a big sacrifice. And the brute force way, I just didn't feel right. I think the code was messy. So fix bug in holy light healing algorithm. we were only computing a target life percentage once for the party and trying to heal all party members to that percentage, which means we could expend the healing on a single party member and not actually achieve the target percentage. Now we prune the characters above the target and then recalculate the percentage with the remaining characters. Yeah. Absolutely would have changed the game design. Whoops. Yeah, like I said, I'm glad we didn't. I like the Paladin the way it was designed, and sometimes it's not going to be possible to get to that design. Maybe you've got a really simple battle system and there's no way to track like buffs that trigger other buffs that, I don't know, whatever. There's just some complicated effect. It's like, oh, okay, maybe you make a compromise then. So we've done this. Now we need to finish coding the Paladin, which I think just means go to the game design doc and look at the last two abilities. We also need to fill in tooltips. I don't think I wrote that down. Make sure the tooltips are correct. Yeah, I appreciate that you looked into this, Ski, and kind of got the ball rolling on all of this, and then everyone chimed in on Discord. It was really nice. Class design here. So we have Holy Charge. You need X fewer rays to use Holy Light. Am I happy with this? I feel like all healing is broken in the game. Yeah. Like what happens when it's just the Paladin and you need, 5 rays of light and they get hit 5 times and they heal themselves for like way more than they should. I kind of want to think about this for a second. So problem, healing seems too strong in the game. E.g. the cleric can solo every dungeon in the game. And the Paladin can probably out heal themselves. Yeah, with Holy Light. Okay, so option number 1 would be just reduce healing across the board. Option number 2 would be reduce self-healing. Option number 3 would be decrease healing efficacy as the battle goes on. Option number 4 is sort of the opposite of that, which is increase damage as the battle goes on of enemies. Option number 5 would be redesign the heal skills such that they're not susceptible to these sorts of problems. I think the only issue is when they're based on getting hit, and the cleric has reactive healing and the paladin has Holy Light. Option number 2 is what I would normally see for healing, I think. Caleb, this reminds me of the leg end of Zelda. That joke. Yeah, reducing self-healing. I guess we would just need to say inside of the ability that's what that does. I think it would probably feel a little bit bad though if the cleric is getting hit and the cleric is the one who needs to get healed and they heal themselves and it's just not as good. Yeah, let's just kind of write this down over here so I don't lose this. Reduce healing across the board, I wonder. Sub option 1, have a much smaller base heal, but having companions alive gives them energy to heal more. Power of friendship or something. Well, maybe this is like 5B, which is base. Let me think about this. I guess, or increase ally healing. Having companions ally gives them energy to heal more. Yeah, I guess I'll write that down. Option number 5B, which is the heals are stronger if more allies as more allies, or like with more living allies. Okay, we'll think about that in a bit. The reason I even ponder this for now is because we're about to code this, which I don't know if this is overpowered like by design. So you need to get hit 10 times in order to use this ability. And what we're saying is you're going to need to get hit 9 or 8 or 7 times. So what happens when, yeah, it's only set to 5? And we could tweak the numbers on all of this stuff. So we could say that it normally takes 15 rays of light, which in a regular battle, would that even happen? Probably not. Maybe. Also, we never expose the number of rays of light that you need, then you're not going to have any idea what this is doing. And apply a damage reduction buff to each affected party member. Okay, that one's straightforward. Yeah, the X fewer rays. I kind of wonder, maybe what we should do is say something like the Paladin generates rays faster. Yeah, that would probably be better. You generate rays X%. You generate X% more rays. More light with each hit. Rays of light. Yeah, okay. I like that a lot better. Let's go code that. So this is going to be const float ray accrual multiplier. This is holy charge ray accrual multiplier bonus per level. Percent per level, yeah. All right, I don't know what to set this to. I don't know, 10%. And what's the other one? Apply a damage reduction buff. Reduces X% damage for Y seconds. Okay, so holy blessing, X% damage. Damage reduction is pretty powerful, but this only happens. Oh man, this is a balancing nightmare. Just a nightmare. This only happens when you've actually gotten hit 10 times or taken damage a bunch of times. And then you're going to cast a buff, and we need to know how often we should even have this buff. So holy blessing, damage reduction percent per level. So maybe like 3% per level. And how long should this last? Holy blessing duration per level. Maybe another half second. And then we need base duration here. Lasts for 3 seconds to begin with. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Okay. So let's go write this one down. So what do we say? You generate X% more rays of holy light with each hit. You generate level. This is holy light. Holy charge ray accrual percent per level. Yeah. Okay, so you generate that many more rays of light. And then plus per level when taking damage. Okay. That looks good. And then the other one's called Holy Blessing. And what does this one do? Apply a damage reduction buff applies a blesses each target healed by holy light. Holy light. Which reduces all damage taken by... Okay, how do we figure this out? It is damage reduction per level times the current level. So holy light, holy blessing, damage reduction per level, yeah. Reduces damage taken by this much plus per level. For, and then we need the duration. Base duration plus per level times level, yeah. Oops. I didn't mean to do that. Okay. And duration is going to need this in parentheses plus duration per level. Oh, this should have an S at the end of it, right? Plus this much S per level. Okay, next we need to search for, whenever we do that, because we probably need a what is it? Number of, what's the precision? We need to figure out the precision. Does anything else increase the duration by a fraction? Huh. I guess they do, and I guess it's just not a problem because we're only multiplying by a number between 0 and 5, right? So what is this going to do then? Yeah, it's only ever going to be up to half of something. Okay. Let's look at the tooltips in the game and see if these look correct. Oh, we didn't write the holy light one, so we got to write that one out. Okay, so every time you take damage, generate, let's just copy paste this. Generate a ray of holy light when at 10 rays of light. So this needs to be parameterized. This is when at num rays needed to heal. Rays of light, you will heal you and your allies for X life. X is the heal amount. Holy light buff, which is this. So we should pass in the power for this. We could make this static. How will you know how this works? There just needs to be a get heal amount. Unfortunately, it's on this ability. All right, well, I'll just write this here. Flow total heal amount equals this. All right, stat computation get power entity. Oh wait, we're always going to have that, right? So we could just make this static. Yeah, sure, fine. Public static float get total heal amount. Yeah, perfect. How can light have holes in it? It's your healing power. It comes from your heals. HEELS. Hey, geek. So total healing is going to be this. And then we need to do the same thing over here. Holy light dot get total heal from the affected entity. Okay, you will heal your allies for that much life, prioritizing those closest to death. Oh, that's not how this works, is it? I guess it kind of is how it works. Damage taken through Holy Link generates less light. Maybe, yeah. All right, now we just need the name of Holy Link. We get like this. Yeah. Okay. Now I want to go look at this. That was meant to be a period. Yep. So we haven't coded any of that. but the tooltip should look good. All right, so Holy Link links you to your allies, causing 15% damage they take to be transferred to you. Strikes a single target with your shield for 10 damage. Every time it's used, Holy Power infuses you, and you gain 0.5% damage reduction for the rest of the battle, up to a maximum of 10%. Gives you a chance to use Shield Bash an extra time. Increases maximum damage reduction percent. Should probably say of Shield Bash. I know we didn't just modify this, and I know there's a bug here. And it's coming from Holy Light. This. Power scaling. Wait, what? Line 38. How is this failing? They don't have a stat component? Because it's in a skill tree? How, what? That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense at all. No, maybe it does. Oh my God, how do I figure this out then? How much time for the interview? So the interview is going to start in about 90 minutes and it'll go for about 60 minutes. Oh my God, it was groans. I wonder why. Oh man, how did I ever do this? There's got to be something in the game that tells us. Okay, wait. Before I forget, let's go change Shield Bash to include the name of the ability. Yeah. Shield Bash name. So this is just that name. Increases damage reduction percent of Shield Bash by that much. Okay, great. So there's that. Next is how do we do that? 49 damage. How does that show up? And how did it not show up here? Hurls a fireball for get base power entity. Get base damage. I do not see a problem with this. Maybe it's because it's get power. It needs to be get base power. This is going to break, isn't it? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Oh, that's a shame. Oh, we pass in. Okay, I see. We pass in the power. Float power. And here we just do power scaling times power. And here we do get the base power. And in the other one, we do get power. Okay, that's a much, much better way of doing this. So we just pass this in and call it get power. Hey, Goose. There are going to be so many potential issues that no one's ever going to notice. Like, if I had written base power here, so like the Paladin, for example, might have 50 power at level 5, let's say. But then they could get a buff that says like plus 20% power. So if I don't apply the 60 power, you'll probably never notice. But the difference is whether I typed get power or get base power. Technically, all things in here should be get power, unless it's in a tooltip. Yeah, in fact, let's search for every call to get base power. Invalid regular expression. Yeah, okay, good. And then open an editor. So anywhere that this is for a tooltip where we're returning a string, we're fine. Stack computation is fine. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah. So Holy Light, this is the only one that's questionable. Where is this done? This is also for a tooltip. Yeah. So I think we're fine. Writes down mathematical formulas. At that point, I would be happy to fix this. This function should generally be only be used for tooltips because it doesn't take power buffs into account. Like, is this game free to play? Currently, yes, although I don't even recommend playing it right now because we're in between alpha versions, but eventually it won't be free to play. So that's the FAQ that answers kind of all this stuff. Let me make sure that that warning is there. As a result, I don't recommend playing the current version since there have already been many improvements made that will launch launch soon. But welcome in, Ram. Should that recommendation be on your itch page? I don't really think people find the itch page. It's not listed in public search. Where is it? Skeleseller. There. Yeah. I think this is hidden from search. So the only way people probably do find it is through that document. And if they do find it and they download it anyway, I mean, they can play. It's just, it's not going to be great. Okay, so that looks good. This presumably looks good. Let's restart this. And then let's read the tooltips and make sure they're fine. And then let's code the abilities. I think we should be able to get this done before the interview. Thanks, Death by Algorithm. I appreciate it. Yeah. All right, so this says increases the maximum damage reduction % of shield bash by, wait, chance. I shouldn't say chance. I'm glad we read that because that was already there, I'm pretty sure. All right, well, we fixed that. Now let's see. Holy Light. Every time you take damage, generate a ray of Holy Light. When at 10 rays of light, you will heal you and your allies for 35 life, prioritizing those closest to death. Damage taken through Holy Link generates less light than damage taken directly. Okay, this is the most complicated ability in the game. But hopefully that's understandable. You generate 0%. Let's click this. You generate 0% more rays of light when taking damage. Okay, good. And blesses each target healed by Holy Light, which reduces all damage taken by that much for that long. Yeah. Okay, so at maximum, what does this do? Reduce all damage taken by 15% for 5.5 seconds. Oh, the problem is I don't know how often you use Holy Light. So maybe you're like stacking these buffs and you're just never taking damage and never dying. Non-zero quantity of evenings where I fancy some coffee. My wife seems unaffected by caffeine to that level and just like has coffee in the evening. I don't know how she does it because back when I used to have caffeine, I'd get like jittery. Hey, Physitronic. Okay, so like I said, there's no real way to test this right now because we haven't coded these abilities, but we got to go code the abilities and then try it out. I'm doing well. I've been pretty happy to work on this stuff. So tooltips are correct, and now make sure the Paladin isn't super overpowered. Yeah, we got to go code the abilities. Yeah, like I said, I think we can get this done before the interview. I think your body gets used to it. Probably can. I guess it depends on how much you drink. Maybe how often you drink. The coffee, I mean, caffeine. All right, so Holy Light Charge and Holy Light Blessing. So let's go code this one. I mean, this should be dead simple. Numb rays needed heal. We just need to search for this. Yeah, when it's equal to this. Float. Actually, not even float. Maybe it should always be an integer. What is it right now? Oh, it's a percentage. Oh, I see. Oh. Wait, so did I even write that correctly? You generate this many more rays. Yeah, okay, I did write it correctly. Oh, cool. Okay. Well, raise to add needs to be multiplied. Raise to add times equal. What is this? 1 plus this. It didn't put parentheses there. Times get level of ability ID, Holy Light, Holy Charge. Yeah. I think this is correct. So it's going to be 1. Oh, no, this is bad. Yeah, because this is going to be 0. So let's just do plus equal this times this. There. That'll work. So your percent is going to be 0 at first, so it'll just add nothing, and then it'll add 10%. Yeah, and because of this line, this will all work fine. Yeah. Cool, cool. Already don't have as a good sleep schedule, yeah. There's a concert going on in the place next door, and it sounds awesome. Free concert. All right, we're done with that one. And now we have to code the next one, which is this. Applies a damage reduction buff. I'm pretty sure we already have this. Effect ID. Damage mitigation. There it is. What adds this right now? Taunt? That's it? Okay, well, that's easy. We're just going to copy paste this code over to here. This is only for people that you heal, though. So it's got to happen right here. Apply blessing. Apply holy blessing. Target. We probably need the affected entity as well. Okay, so private void apply holy blessing, node source, node target. All right, mitigation percent is going to be the level of the source's holy blessing times the holy light blessing per level. Okay, then the duration. Hopefully this just figures it out for me. Base duration plus the duration per level times the level of the ability. Yeah. So int level blessing level equals, hopefully it gets that. Good. And then we can replace this. So if mitigation percent is greater than 0, actually it's just a blessing level is greater than 0. We don't even need to do that. Then get the percent and everything else. Actually, just how about this? If it's less than or equal to 0, then just return. There. We don't need this tabbed in anymore. All right, mitigation buff equals new source target duration target. That should be perfect. Okay, well, I think we've coded them both. That was much faster than I thought. Now we need to test it. And that's going to be fun. So how about we set the damage reduction percent to a ludicrous 20% just to test it out and make sure it's working. Hey, Pressel. All right, so now we need to put 5 points. We're just going to cheat our way up there. 5 points into this. So it reduces damage taken by 100% for 5.5 seconds. And now we get into a battle, and we should be invulnerable. Oh, I guess we need to grant most things and go to this battle. Yeah, there. All right, what have we got? What have we got? So you take a bunch of damage, then you cast your thing, and then you take no damage the rest of the battle, right? Yep. Oh, wait, except for when you don't heal yourself, then you never cast the buff. Oh, that's problematic. Maybe. No, maybe not. I don't know. Can you write unit tests for this? I could, yeah. Okay, so here's the thing. This is a game balance problem, and writing tests for game balance is really, really tough. I feel like you just have to simulate a bunch of battles. So by the way, the reason why this is stupidly broken is because I just tested it by setting it to a number way higher than it should be. So like, of course it's going to be stupidly broken, but this is the number it should have been. And this is, like I said, just pretty much impossible to tell if it's super broken because it's compared to the other classes and it's just really, really hard to gauge that. So we're going to put a bunch of points into that again. And I guess a bunch of points into that. Let's see, get one more debug point. So you generate 50% more rays of light. This is probably a bad idea because now it means you really only need, wait, how does this work? I guess you would generate 1.5. So you need like 7.5 rays of light or something. 6.7. Yeah, you need 6.7 rays of light now instead of 10. And when you generate those 6.7, you're going to give yourself a buff for 5.5 seconds. This is just probably really stupid. All right, let's try it out. Let's just see how the Paladin does on their own. So they heal themselves pretty frequently, and they're reducing the damage further and further every time. It's hard to tell because I only see damage numbers of 17 and 11. But these buffs should stack. In fact, let's test if they're stacking. Hey, Magnetic Bind. Wait, we have a command for this. There. All right, we're going to set the duration to a whopping 30 seconds. So now it should pretty much never end. I mean, 30 seconds is not never, I guess. Let's try that out. All right, so put points into that, put points into that, and then start a battle. And we should see the damage just keep dropping and dropping. So they're taking 21 and 14, now 21 and 13, now 11 and 17. I don't think this is stacking, which means I must have messed something up. Let's find out. It could be the duration, it could be the calculation of your damage mitigation, and it could be something else altogether. Who knows? Who knows indeed. So it's only when you get healed, you apply the Holy Blessing to this character. You get the mitigation percent. You know, let's just put a thing here. G.print. Applying Holy Blessing to target for mitigation percent. T0. I don't even need the target. All right, and then let's go to stat computations and get the damage mitigation percent. How does this work? Damage mitigation from buffs. Yeah, that should be correct. I don't know what's wrong. Huh. Hey, Magnetic Bind, you might find this interesting, but I summed up the little algorithmic thing we were working on. So if you want to try to solve this problem, here's the problem description. We have now solved it, but it is not what the response to this is. So if you scroll down, you'll see a response. And if you're not interested, feel free to not look at it. It's totally fine. There's no requirement. There's no problem anymore. All right, we're going to test that one more time. We're just going to look at this. So it should be applying a buff. Yeah, 15% for 32.5 seconds. Yeah, it just always does that. So then what's your damage mitigation at? Mitigation from buffs. Aggregate 0. Get the percent increase. What am I doing wrong? Am I making this wrong? Percent increase in duration. No. Hey, APX. I don't actually know what I'm doing wrong. So let's do this. Let's get the total damage mitigation percent. gg.print. Total damage mitigation is now that. Yeah. This is source and target, right? Affected. Oh my God, it's backwards? I'm giving the enemies damage mitigation? Oh, well, whoops. Okay, that explains that. Wrong buff. Making the enemies stronger. Okay, well, now I think that's it. It's fixed. But, yeah, I wasn't aware of that. All right, so we're going to do this again. I am nearly positive this is just going to work. And I think it's also going to be, it's going to get the point to where, it's going to get to the point where you're not even taking any damage, really. So you start by taking 21 and whatever, and then 17 and 11. And then still apparently 17 and 11. What does it say? Total damage mitigation is now 25%. Huh, it's not going beyond that. You can have multiple buffs of this, right? This means stack computations is broken, I'm pretty sure. Actually, let's just put a breakpoint here. Yeah. Let's go into this right here. Aggregate, go through each effect. Okay, let's get this. You have 18 effects. Yeah, a whole bunch of damage mitigation buffs. So why is this not working? Let's copy the entire thing. It should print out like a number greater than 1. It doesn't. Ooh, that's a problem. Oh my god, did I just forget to add the accumulator? Oh my god. Oh, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. Okay, I think we fixed it. Hey, Matt. Hope you have a good lurk. All right, this should now be finally fixed. So now Paladin will just take no damage after some amount of time, right? Yep. Yep. It's lowering and lowering. Yeah, so now the Paladin's taking like 2 or 3 at a time. Now they're taking some zeros, and now it should be entirely zeros, yeah. Then eventually the mitigation buff will wear off because they're not creating new ones because they're not healing, which I don't know if that's a bug. Well, sorry, I don't know if I should change the design of that. It's intentional, but maybe it should change. So yeah, it should be wearing off pretty soon. Has it been 30 seconds? Yeah, there we go. So they took damage once, and then, yeah, they're starting to heal now. Yeah. Okay, so that was a test of super busted Paladin. Now we're going to make them not super busted. So the base duration is going to be set back to 3 seconds. So this is what I want to see. Can they solo this entire instance? Are they stupidly powerful? Because this buff can stack. Although you can't get 10 points in this yet. All right, let's do that. And let's try that out. So Paladin versus the world. Are you dying or are you living? So their life might get pretty low, but their damage mitigation should eventually cap out. Yeah, it looks like they're not actually taking damage. Paladin too strong. Hey, Nocta, welcome back. And to be honest, this isn't really a problem in the game because of how long this will take for you to win the battle. Like, look at how slowly they're killing enemies. So if you want to take 14 minutes or whatever waiting for all these enemies to die, then I guess be my guest. Although this could allow you to sequence break the game. So I do think we should consider this to be a problem. But like I said, look at this. It's 8 times speed. And we're just very, very slowly killing enemies. All right, they're about to win. I want to see what the total duration is. Oh no, there's another phase of the fight. Oh man. I don't have a way to speed this up faster than 8 times. Okay. Why do you hate speedrunners? I don't want players to be encouraged to play in an unfun way. And I think this would be very unfun for people. Like, let's say by winning this fight, you got 10,000 gold. And by winning normal fights, you got like 5 gold. You'd be like, well, I'm going to do the 10,000 way and I'll just come back to my computer after 20 minutes. And then, yeah, that'd be bad. I think there's one more phase. Yeah. Oh, man. All right. I don't know what we do about this, but I wrote down all the options. I want this fight to finish. Those stupid slimes have like 1,000,000 life though. Yeah, their paladin just murders everything. All right, wait for it. We got another like 30 seconds. They're gonna kill this. Yeah, they got that one slime left and the worm thing. Okay, cool. So yeah, it took 14 minutes and 45 seconds, and my average DPS was 12. Okay, I kind of want to try some other things here though. What if we throw a mage into that battle, or maybe? Yeah, let's throw a mage into the battle. Let's give him some skills here. Good. And let's add the warrior in as well. Okay. So edit party, add in the mage and warrior. Now I'm guessing they're just going to die because I think the paladin is more powerful on their own, excuse me, than they are with other people. Nope, that is not what's happening. The Paladin is just too powerful. Yeah. Wow. Well, stupid. Use healing potential pool to solve this. Pool refills based on number of enemies hit, and a single healing unit is too slow to out heal groups. Yeah, so I wrote down a bunch of issues. By the way, hi and welcome. I wrote down a bunch of ways I can solve this, which is we could just reduce healing in general. We could reduce self-healing. We could decrease the healing efficacy as the battle goes on. So maybe you're able to keep up in healing pace, and then there's just a multiplier that's going from like 100% down to 99% and so on and so forth, such that by the end of the battle, maybe you're healing at like 25% efficacy, and at that point you die. It'd probably be really disappointing if you were like, oh, I'll just leave this battle running, and you come back and you always lose because you might not realize that's happening. We can increase the damage of the enemies as the battle goes on. That's the same general effect. Or we could redesign the skills, which is kind of what you're talking about here. Pool refills based on the number of enemies hit. So in this case, by the way, the ability that's broken right now, actually, I guess all healing is kind of broken, but it's this one. Yeah, no, wait, this one here. Every time you take damage, you generate a ray of holy light. When you're at 10 rays, you heal yourself and your allies. So we can tweak the... Oh, what's that? Total damage mitigation now 115%. How's that happening? This is... Something's wrong. Something's very wrong. How is it getting to 115%? Am I screwing this up? Almost certainly I am. Mitigation from fortitude. How much fortitude do you have? The Paladin has... What is that? The second to last one is fortitude 50. So they have 10% naturally. So they get 10% just from fortitude. Then they get the rest of it from their buffs. Unfortunately, I don't have times printing out here, so I don't know how many of these they had at once. But the other thing that doesn't make any sense is how could it ever get to 50%? Oh, right. Oh, because the Paladin get another 10% from Shield Bash. So by the end of the battle, they have a baseline of 20%. And then everything after that should be a multiple of 15. But that's not happening. We're seeing 40% print out. Can someone else mitigate damage? Oh, these are different characters. Oh my God. Right, when I put more than just a Paladin into the battle, I needed to start differentiating, and I just didn't do that. Yeah, so okay, I see. So the warrior is taking almost no damage, and that's probably expected because the warrior has an ability that lets them mitigate even more damage. Where is that warrior here? Shields up. How does this work? Raise your shield, reducing damage taken by 75%. Yeah, and then they have 10% from here, and then they get the Paladin's amount. So they get 85% plus up to 30% more. Yeah. Okay. Well, the game is broken. Oh man, I don't know. I'm almost inclined to say just let people have their broken characters. And it's just the amount of battles you can do per second that are going to matter. But I think that's probably bad because it means that you'll never really lose fights. And I kind of wonder what one of these options would be if we did option 3 or 4. This is end game, right? Not really. That's the thing. Like, yeah, the fortitude amount is end game. And we can tweak all of these numbers, by the way. But this ability was like, hey, when you're level 6, you can get 5 points in this ability. And then that means that half the time, because this lasts for 3 seconds, and there's a cooldown of 6 seconds. So half the time you can have a damage reduction of very, very high. Can they be excluded from self-healing so they can't infinitely survive? We could try that. Yeah, maybe this only heals your allies, but then the problem is that the Paladin won't keep themselves alive. And the reason that's a problem is because they're supposed to be kind of a tank as well. Should skill points be rarer? I mean, they could be. Like, there are lots of ways we could approach this. But if they're rarer, that means this can still eventually happen. And it means that we'll run into this situation eventually. So the Paladin omitting themselves from healing. Let's go take a look at that. We do this. We say possible targets equals this, and then possible targets dot remove the Paladin themselves. There. So now they can't heal themselves, which also means that in a solo fight, they just don't have the Holy Light ability. It does literally nothing, which is, I think this is bad, but still, let's try this. So we're going to put a bunch of points into this and then throw them into a battle on their own, and they're just going to die, right? Yep, because they can't heal. But if they're there with another party member, I want them to heal up, but I don't want to take forever, so let's just speed this up. There, okay, so if they're there with another party member, then now they'll heal the other party members. Yeah. But then the Paladin's still going to be the first to die, pretty much always. Yeah. And then once a Paladin dies, the Warrior's definitely dying. And then the Mage will be close to follow. Yep. By the way, even this you could kind of mitigate. You could be like, okay, let's just put a cleric into the party instead. So now this is one of those parties that is probably going to keep itself alive for a little bit longer. Let me speed this up a bit. So the cleric's going to heal the Paladin. The Paladin's going to heal the other two. They're still dying. But part of the reason is I didn't assign any points into the cleric. So if we did that, then they'd probably survive for a very long time. Like we put a bunch of points into here and here. And now I'm guessing they're invincible. In fact, I don't even need to start them at full life. No, I do. Okay, fine. Wait. Yeah. Yeah, I think they're invincible now. We're close enough. Paladins are usually primarily tanks with healing as a secondary ability. Is that an option? So I'd like there to be a way to have this character. I like how the Paladin is designed, and we have a lot of numbers that we can tweak. So that could be the first thing we do is just tweak some numbers, and making healing less effective is certainly one of the ways we can do this. So all we need to do for that is just set the power scaling lower, and then we can go delete this thing that we did. And now the Paladin can heal themselves, and they'll heal the party. It just won't be a crazy amount of healing. We probably also need to lower the cleric healing if we do that. Although the cleric is very tough because the way they do damage is through healing. So now we have the Paladin here. Let's try this out. They should not be able to solo this dungeon anymore. Yeah, so you can see them healing themselves. Every once in a while I see a green number show up. But it's not allowing them to just live forever. Although it is actually doing a pretty good job of keeping them alive. Yeah, so something like that might just be the solution. Healing is just a little worse in the game. And even then, there's probably some like broken combination of characters you can get. Wow, because it's Paladin is soloing 9 characters so far. But they're about to die, yeah. DPS is still terrible. Okay, let's try out. Let's go nerf the cleric. How does this work? We need to lower the power scaling of this. I don't know. Let's not touch a cleric yet. You could make self-healing less. That is an option. Yeah. Although I'm not sure that that's going to solve the problem exactly because toward the end of the game, maybe being able to heal your allies at normal amounts of life is good enough to keep them alive forever. Looks simultaneously fun and annoying. Oh yeah, definitely. I don't think we're going to put too much thought into this for right now. Although what happens when we look at this? Heal your allies for 54 life. Like this just doesn't seem very impactful, especially because this says you heal for, well, I guess it's about the same. Yeah. Uh, 54 life spread over 3 characters, though. We probably do just need to reduce self-healing. So torn. All right, well, we're not going to worry about this for right now. Let's just set this to some number. It is great. Yeah, 1.5. I was going to say something lower than what it used to be. And I think we've coded everything for this. Make sure they're not super overpowered. We'll save that for later. So healing seems too strong in the game. Could just... I want to apply the reduction of self-healing as sort of a last-ditch effort. But I do recognize that if healing is really, really just bad overall, that it means that these characters need to start doing more damage or have more utility or something. Anyway, let's check this in, and then let's add the particle system, and then that's probably all we can really do until interview time. Close out of these things. Close all tabs. Yeah. All right, what changes do we have here? So added that stuff in, got that. Yep. This we should check in on its own. Yeah, in fact, we can check in a couple different things separately. Add clarifying comment. And then check this in. Fix bug with calculating damage mitigation. I wasn't adding the accumulator when computing buff total. I'm computing the total mitigation from buffs. Oops. There. Okay, now the rest of the changes. So we added in the Paladin abilities. Anything else? Nope. Oh, yep, this needs to be deleted. I have no idea. There we go. Any other prints that I accidentally left in? No. Okay, so now let's check in all of that except for the town. Code the rest of the Paladin abilities. The character is complete, although it may not be balanced. I say may not, but I'm pretty certain it's not balanced. So there's no may there. Add a particle system to the Paladin whose number of particles changes based on the number of rays of light they have. Yeah, I think we're just going to put in this effect for now. Just that particle system. Those will be your rays of light. And when it hits maximum, then it does something. So that's coming from the signpost, believe it or not. So we're going to save this as its own scene. And let's call this rays of light. Oh, except for I don't want to actually change the signpost thing. Let's go delete that. Yeah, I just want to go modify rays of light. You played with the particles? Oh, cool. Gimme. That looks really cool. Yeah, I want that. If you could put it in a gist or something. How'd you make the child scene its own scene? You just right click and go to save branch as scene. So that's a lot easier than having to like copy this, make a new. That's in the editor. Yeah, but that means it should still get saved as like a T-res or something, right? Or a TSCN. You should still be able to copy paste something. Is also GitHub? Yes. There was a stream that Left just did a long time ago where he was just pronouncing every G like a J and vice versa. And he was doing a pretty good job at it. You'd be saying something like he did a pretty good gob at it. Imagine that's very hard to think of. Okay, so we're going to create rays of light. This is going to need its own script. Source scene scripts. I could type. I still can't. There we go. Create that. Okay. Now we need to add this like we do for the burn debuff. So there's added to entity and removed from entity. So we're going to go put this into holy light buff. Okay. And then this. Okay, so what this should do is this should make it so that the entity is always on fire, which is not what we want, but I just want to make sure this is working. Yeah. So now the Paladin is going to start the battle and forever be on fire. And then we'll just change it to the particle system. All right, so we'll create instance. Yeah, there we go. They're burning. It's actually kind of a cool thing. But yeah, we don't want them to be burning. We want them to be holy. So we want to change this to a rays of light. Rays of light. And then we want to instantiate that scene. Rays of light. And that's it, right? Okay. Now we need to reset that particle system. So rays of light dot reset. And every time you generate a ray of light, we need to add to it. Actually, let's just do set num rays, yeah. In fact, if we just do this at the end every single time, there should probably be some like pulse of light that happens or something. We're not going to do that yet. PR this later. It's an image and a scene file. Okay. I want to see it now, though. It just looks so cool. So this we're going to make into something that's just dead simple. We're going to just change the number of particles that we have here. Where are the particles? There they are. Okay, so amount is set to 80. If we set it to like 5, yeah, it's a pretty puny Paladin. Set it to 15. Set it to 50. Yeah, I think somewhere between 0 and 80 is probably fine. So amount equals num rays divided by holy light dot num rays needed times 80. And is this an integer? I can't tell. Int. Yes, it's an integer. Okay, so then we need this to be an int. There we go. Fill in the rest for me. There. All right, now what's the problem here? Move it into a name namespace. We did that. What linter do I use? What do we use? Was it in the solution file or in the CS project file? Because I don't remember the names of these things ever. We use these: sonar analyzer, style cop, Microsoft code analysis. Yeah, C# here. Okay, yeah, that. Where is that? All right, I think it should just work. Yeah, let's try it. So as the Paladin takes damage, they're going to have more and more of those particles coming out of them. And eventually, oops, did I forget to change something? Maybe I did. Yeah, I think I forgot to do that. Rays of light cannot be found. Where are you? Here. Okay. What am I pressing? Okay, there we go. Yeah, so it's showing up in front of the character. We need to show up behind. Also, it's not setting the value correctly at first. Okay, so we have 2 problems, but we can fix both problems. So this... Oh, maybe we can't fix the one problem, actually. How does Battler look? Oh, good, we have the sprite here. Okay, so we just want to add them before the sprite. And adding them at the beginning of the scene is totally fine. So how do we do that? We need to now move child. Move child, rays of light 0. Okay, so there's that problem solved. The next problem is that rays of light should probably set its amount to 0 when it's added to the scene. Public. Oh, wait, no, we could just do this in here. Yeah. Rays of light dot set num rays, do num rays. Yeah, perfect. Recommend switching to end substitute. Syntax is better anyway. We don't have very many unit tests to begin with, though, Chronic. Yeah. But we should probably focus on that at some point. Okay, good. So here we go. That's still broken. Why is that broken? Rays of light equals null. Num rays is set to 0 by default. Set num rays to 0. That sets the amount over here. What? What's going on? I don't see why this is problematic. Yeah, I don't see what's going on there. If I look at rays of light dot amount, it should be set to 80 right now. Or 50 or whatever, who cares? But it should be set to 0 right after this. Oh, amount of particles must be greater than 0. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay, well, fine. So amount equals math.max 1 comma that. Math doesn't exist. Just got deleted as a subject from the universe. Okay, so that should have fixed both problems. So the Paladin will always have at least one particle. We could just disable the visibility, but I don't think it's important. All right, so yeah, turn that off and go take a look at the Paladin. All right, so now every time they get hit, they're going to spew more particles until they glow so much that they heal. I think every time the amount changes, though, it looks like it's deleting all the particles. I don't want that to happen. Yeah, I don't want that to happen. I wonder how we fix that. Godot particles change amount without deleting particles. Has to recreate the pool of particles. This is unavoidable for the performance gain. We can do is set. You can the amount as if it is the maximum amount. Then set emit to off and use the emit function from code to place particles exactly where you want them. Oh, this sounds annoying. Add another one at the same spot. It'll emit when I need it to. Oh boy. Yeah. Wicked so large they heal. It just, yeah, I think it doesn't look very good right now though. Turn on emitting. Haven't tried this. No, we have to fake it. Yeah, okay. Well, that's another thing I guess we could do is just have it always be the same amount of particles and change their opacity or something. So we set this to 80 and we just change color initial ramp, new gradient. Whoops, that's what I meant to do. Something like that. And then we just slide one of these things to the other side. Yeah. So basically it would start out looking something like this. And then it slowly gets yellower and yellower like that. This should be white. Does that work? Kind of does, but it still looks sort of stupid. Yeah, okay, that'll work. Just change this gradient. Hey, Syntonic. And the actual particle effects are going to be these. Look at those rays of light. It's just coming out of a sign and not the Paladin. I DM'd you the files. Okay, cool. Thank you. I will look into adding those. We got to make sure we have enough time. I got to start or take break at 10:45. It's currently 10:15. So we got half an hour. Add in the particles that Dark sent. And thank you, Dark. Hey, Mystical Cell. I'm doing well. We finished coding the Paladin. We finished that issue from yesterday. How's your COVID doing? So, okay, what we want to do here is change this stop on the color initial ramp. I do not know how we do that, but let's go find out. So set num raise, we're not going to do this anymore. It's just always going to be set to 80. We need to get its, what is that called? Color ramp, color initial ramp, copy property path. Color initial ramp. Dot, there's add point. Get point count, get offset. Once we have about points, remove point. Okay, so we need to remove a point and add the point. Removes the color at index point. And then what is this? Does it add it in index? Yes. Okay, cool. So we can do this. It's just really, really obnoxious. So here we want to say float point position is going to be equal to the number of rays divided by the maximum number of rays. And then we're going to remove the first point and we're going to add it back at a particular position. How does, I don't know how this works. Float offset. Yeah. Oh, this is oof. Oof. We need to get the points actually. Get point count. I don't want that. I want to get the point by its index. There's no get, right? Oh, there's a get. Property name. No, I don't want that. How do you get all the points? Okay, I gotta look this up. Color initial ramp. It's a gradient 2D. So we need to look up the docs for that. Godot gradient 2D. Get color, get offset. Oh, get offset. Turns the offset of the gradient color at index point. Yeah, I always want the 0th one. Where's the color? Oh, this removes at index, not at offset. Oh, maybe this will work fine then. And we want to subtract the tiniest bit from this, like minus 0.0001 F, so that it can't ever be at the maximum. And then just math.max it with 0. All right, what is the color we want for this? New color 1110. All right, and that just needs to be point position. Okay, let's try that. I think this might work. I'd be a little impressed. Hopefully this doesn't also respawn all the particles. I don't think it's working. No, I don't think it's working. I saved this. We should have 2 points in here. And this should be the first point. Oh, I need to invert this, I think. Oh, I still don't think this is working, but this should have gotten, this should be fading out as time goes on, if I'm not mistaken. So we're actually removing particles. Because if that's what's happening, then this is actually correct. But I can't really tell, and it's going to take 10 hits before it gets to be nothing. I don't know. I think it's doing that. Yeah, I think it's doing that. Oh, cool. All right, then we did get it to work. We just inverted it. So we just need to do 1 minus this. Yeah. I think I'm on the decline. Feeling a lot better. Did your vision correct itself? Also, why do these look... Oh, wait. Oh, I know why those look bad. because this is on a different timer altogether. Okay, that doesn't matter. So let's look at this now. Yeah, so now we have no particles, and as you get hit, you start to generate some particles. Perfect. We did it. I should probably post on the forums about this, but I think I would need to make an account for that, and I don't want to do that right now. Yeah, nice. So then once the particles get to be at the maximum, which is after 10 hits, which I don't even think is even possible because I think you, oh, no, never mind, it is possible. Yeah, then it disperses. Cool. So that means that I can take 10 hits in this battle? I guess that's what that means. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and heal. Yeah. Still a little blurry, not as noticeable. Okay, cool. Then yeah, you are on the up and up. All right, cool. So I think we've finished the Paladin. Did I get rid of that to do? Yeah, I did. Excuse me. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. I just need to write a comment for how this works. Rays of light, because it's not obvious. You can't change the amount. How do you make code this way? Amount on a particle system without it deleting all of the existing particles. So instead, we change the color ramp so that the particles slowly become more visible. Okay, so add a particle system to the Paladin. Yeah. Okay, so now we're gonna try to add in the particles of dark scent. Wait, something's wrong here. Dark, oh, I see. Oh, okay, yeah. I couldn't see the image, but now I see it. All right. So we got to go add this stuff in. Let's go find my downloads folder here. All right, so we have ray.png. We got to put this somewhere. And then what, does this need to be a GPU particles? It's a CPU particles, but I think we probably should make it a GPU particles now. But all right, let's go find out where to put ray. Game assets. I'll put it in battle. Yeah. Maybe we'll make a new particles thing. In fact, maybe that's probably better. Just put it in a particles folder. All right, do we capitalize all our other graphic names? Yes. All right, then we need the scene itself. This is just a CPU particles 2D and a curve. What is a curve for? Scale curve, I see. All right, so let's load this up, which means we got to put it somewhere in the game. Well, let's put it here for now. Rays. Missing fixed dependencies. Particles ray. Good. I just fixed it. Should open when I do that. Did it work? It worked. Okay, so now we just copy this into the other scene. Paste. Then make this one the scene root. Instantiated scenes. It's not instantiated. How do I? Man. All right, fine. We'll do it the other way around then. We'll attach the script of rays of light to this. And then we'll save this one as rays of light. So don't save that. Save this as rays of light. And that's it. It should just work. Not quite. Something's wrong. Color initial ramp. Oh, there is no ramp set. Right, of course. Okay, so cut out of that and then go to raise and delete that one. So we need to set up the ramp. Where is the ramp? Color initial ramp. Here it is. New gradient. The first point's going to get deleted no matter what anyway, but still, let's set it to the right thing. There. Okay, let's take a look. Oh, cool. That's really cool. Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, I like it. I want to see what it looks like with more characters in a battle. So let's go here and put... Oh, it crashed. It does that every once in a while. I don't know what's causing that. It's some like... Does it even print out what happened? No, it didn't. Or maybe it was... I don't know, whatever. All right, let's do that. Go to there, start a battle, and just take a look at this. I don't want to zoom in, so how about this? I'll just do this. That way you can still see it, and I'm not blocking it with my keyboard camera. So the Paladin is taking damage by virtue of transferring damage from other characters, but I'm not actually seeing the rays of light change here. So I feel like something is wrong. Something has to be wrong. What is it? Set number rays is a float. What happened? It was working fine in a battle on its own. Hey, 3D extended. Yeah, there's no uptime. It's going to happen in about 34 minutes. So it's going to be pretty soon. I think Twitch itself shows it. What is going on here? It just stopped. That's not good. It's definitely not good. What did I break? So when I start the very first instance, oh, it's no longer working now? Oh, wait, no, there it goes. Okay, so that one works. Then I start another battle and it doesn't work? Nope, it's working. What? Why did this... I am confused. It's working now here too. I wonder if it was something was like out of sync with VS Code and Godot. No, it's broken again. Oh, I think I know what's happening. Oh my God. Oh, this is very particular. I think it's deleting the wrong point. I wonder if we should just always set up both points correctly. Yeah, let's just do that. Color initial ramp dot, is there a clear? No. Get num points, get point count. Get point count. So now we don't need this minus whatever here. So this is the number of points. Int num points equals this for, yep, remove 0.0, good. And then add 2 points, one at the point position and one at 1. And this is going to be like that. Actually, it should just be colored out white. There. I think now there will not be a problem anymore. I think the issue is that these could be on top of each other. Maybe. I don't know. Let's just see if it's a problem. That's backwards. 0, 1 minus. So we do need this to subtract something? Try that again. Yeah, I think we do. I'm going to speed this up. We should just always see light emitting from this. I'll win the battle. I'll grant most things. I'll go into a battle with someone else. Sure, yep. This is where we stopped seeing these render, and now it looks like they're rendering again. So yeah, I think that was the issue. I'm not sure how best to do this then. Yeah, it looks like it's working. Yeah. Yeah, the problem is we need these to be two distinct points. So what's the smallest number we can subtract and still have that happen? Because I think this starts getting messed up. I would expect this to be okay. Already in past interview section? Oh, that's not correct. Whoops. Yeah. Thanks for telling me. Look at the remove line in the loop again. I think remove 0.0 should be fine though, because it says remove it at the index. Yeah, I think this should be okay. Because I think if you just call remove 0.0, however many points there are, it should remove them all. Yeah, I think this is good now. Let's just try it and make certain that it is. So I'll do that and go to there. Yeah, I think this is working now. Yeah. Okay. Is it somehow removing 0.0 and there's only 1 point? Yes, it is, but that's what's expected. I think we just need to write this here. So I don't know. I don't know what to write. I think that's fine. Whatever. It's working. Let's check that in. So add in dark storms particles for the Paladin. All right, so we got ray of light. We have this new thing, and we don't want the rest of that. Good. Perfect. All right, so Paladin, other than the balance, is done. So the next character we would tackle would be the Summoner. Consider whether this needs to be adjusted. Yeah, we already did that. Make sure there are no issues having two passes. We did that. And we can close this. And I already pushed, right? Yes. All right, Code the Paladin is finished. And now we can write... I said add two more classes. So how about we split this into add the Paladin, add the Summoner, and put a check mark there. So I think the next thing we're going to do is add the Summoner, which will probably start today. And we'll probably actually start it pretty much now. Design the Summoner. We need to start by designing it. So it won't be any code just yet. But first, let's see. Do we have an issue open for this? Add the Summoner to the game. Finish designing, add the graphics. Yeah, okay. So this is going to go into the current project. And we're going to set this in the current iteration, priority P0. Sounds good. Okay, so Summoner design. Like I said, there are two high levels we could take for this. One is summon lots of stuff, and the other is summon one thing. I think this is going to be the summon one thing kind of summoner. Because we have one summon graphic. Did I download it so I can show you? No, I don't think so. Did I save it in here somewhere? No. Okay, let me go pull those up really fast so I can show you what the summoner looks like. It's over here. Give me a sec. I gotta just download these things. Sorry, this is taking slightly longer than I thought. There, I've downloaded that one. Now I need to download this one. Okay. So I've downloaded the graphics now, and I can open them and show you what they look like. So here's the summoner. And then their summon is a zombie. So I really like the graphics. I think they're great. They look very cool. And yeah, that zombie is going to be the one summon you get. And I guess, oh, there are some. Did I do the art myself? I did none of the art myself, as far as I know. We started with an art pack, an asset pack, and then Quickie Joe's been doing all this stuff. Actually, there's some news to share there too. That's not a summoner then, that's a necromancer. Yeah, we could call it the necromancer. I think it's fine. In fact, yeah, I think we'll probably do that. Let me show you the new logo with a, I guess I really need to zoom out for this. This has the horizontal logo. Am I covering anything with my, not really. I'll turn this off for a second though. Yeah, so I really like this. I think this is good. I think I just need to have, like, we need to move the smoke wisp a little bit, or maybe even move the logo up a little bit. But I'm very happy with this. So this will probably turn into like the Steam listing thing. And I'll write this here too. Consider whether we should name the class the Necromancer or Witch Doctor or something. Okay, so general idea is, so like high level ideas for the summoner could be empower the summon with different abilities. Okay, I'm just brainstorming here. But what if there was something which was like, we say, I don't know, what would we call this, like enchant zombie, and it has a random chance to give the zombie new abilities. So like bite, heal, I don't know, some sort of AoE damage thing. It's kind of a weird way of doing that. The summoner itself needs something to do. So necromancer's always carrying a corpse with them. Just throw your cadaver to the ground, turn it into a zombie. I think I have some ability ideas written down too. Yeah, I think I have some summon stuff written. Yeah, summon related stuff. When a summon dies, it hurts all enemies. Upon summoning, you gain life. Oh, that's another thing we could do, is like maybe the summoner can try resummoning its zombie when it dies. Like, should the zombie just be fodder? Should it actually be damaging? Restore life to the summons. I don't like the idea of it healing the summon. I feel like you should just have a healer for that. But I think, like, okay, here's one way we can kind of say this. Like, Witch Doctor, passive, starts the battle with a zombie companion. Yeah. And then active 1, question mark, active 2, question mark. And these could be passives as well. I feel like the Witch Doctor needs to do something. Can't just stand there. Otherwise, it's pretty much just the zombie that is the character. That'd be kind of cool if it could only convert dead party members to zombies. But if it did that, that means your party members would have to die before it gets most of its utility. And the odds of you ever playing a battle that's going to cause a character to die is very slim. Because since the game is automated, you're probably just going to fight in fights that you win. And even then, you're probably only going to fight in fights that you win fast enough. Kind of trying to optimize. Be kind of cool. So like, just still brainstorming, could be, there could be something where if the zombie is alive, the Witch Doctor does more damage. Problem is that if the zombie dies, then the Witch Doctor just kind of sucks. Right? And it could be something too where like, you know, kind of nice. Maybe the zombie has poison. The zombie could have a poison ability. I think that could be kind of cool. Or a chance to poison. Yeah. Maybe that's how it works. It can take damage. It can poison. I feel like there probably needs to be a resummon that can happen though. So if there's an ability that happened like every 10 seconds, it's probably too long. The Witch Doctor could revive the zombie if it dies, maybe with half the health, half the max health it had originally. That's actually pretty cool. Yeah, I like that idea. That way it's not just an infinite meat shield. Although maybe we put a minimum on that. Maybe there's a minimum max health of 20% of the original. So it's not just taking one hit and then falling over again. Just throws buffs on the zombie, and if the zombie dies, it resummons. It is possible. The reason I find it a little strange if that's all it's doing is, if you think about it, you're forming a party in this game and you're picking, let me wait for the game to load. So you're picking one of these. We currently have 5 characters, but imagine you also have a summoner over here. So when you pick a character in your party, you're like, okay, I want the rogue because it does these things. If you're picking the witch doctor and all you're doing is powering up its summon, then you're essentially just picking the zombie. And the witch doctor is just like not even a character. It's almost reversed. It's like the witch doctor becomes the meat shield and the zombie becomes your character. So I think the summoner should be the focus somehow, and I'm not totally sure how to do that. Kill enemy, get new zombie. So this was supposed to be the summoner that I guess has it summoning one thing, but we could have it that it summons multiple zombies. I don't know. Yeah, that could be up in the air. Maybe you can summon multiple zombies. If it's based on killing enemies, though, then there are going to be some situations, I guess, where you just don't even want this, which is probably fine. Probably there are usually going to be multiple enemies. Okay. Well, I don't know, but we're getting very close to the interview time, so I think we're going to have to continue with the design of this in the afternoon. What time is it? Yeah. I'll go take a break, and then when we get back, we're going to prep for the interview and then start it. For those who haven't heard, this is like a talk show style interview with Melmsie, who is the creator of Dank Memer, which is a very, very popular Discord bot. And we're going to talk about some game design and development stuff, ADHD, the nonprofit experience that he's got, and just any other kind of things that come up. I think it's going to be fun. So I will be back in a little bit. Is it jump time? It's jump time. again, close the game, put away my green screen, and we're going to go into interview prep, which I don't have a lot to do here, so maybe we'll get back to some of the design a little bit. Switch to setting up for mentoring so people can only hear me. Oh, wait, what am I doing? Interview. Yeah, switch to interview scene, take down my green screen. What is the interview scene? There. Okay, sure, let's just switch to it. Hooray! Let's zoom this out a little bit. There we go. A little bit more reasonable. I feel like I should be shifted to the side. I'll just move the camera. Yeah, there, that looks good. All right, take down green screen, zoom out camera a bit more, keep Discord on my left monitor, ping people on Discord, conduct the interview from Obsidian rather than Docs. Oh yeah, I gotta open that up. I know you can't see my screen. You're not supposed to be able to. All right, now where's my Melmsie questions? There they are. All right, change stream title, change today command. Yeah, I guess we don't need to be in this scene just yet. Let's do this. Adam is interviewing Melmsie. Game designer, product manager at Dank Memer, and vice president of experience at CyberInfo. See the interview document for more information and links. Yeah. Whoops. That's not a today command. There we go. All right, anything else I need to do for this? Change the title of the stream. Interviewing Melmsie, game designer. I think we can't fit this whole thing, so I'm just going to include this. All right, unfortunately, this is not happening just yet, so I should not actually change the title yet, and we can focus on the summoner thing for a little bit longer. Oh, and I need to copy my old title. There we go. Okay, so yeah, let's spend a little bit more time on that summoner thing. We're done with that. Do I still have this open? Yeah. All right, so yeah, let's just keep kind of just generating some thoughts here. If you do have multiple summons, then I feel like the summoner probably fills the role of tank and DPS to some extent, since it can spread out damage. Could be that you have summon zombie on a 30-second cooldown, and you get chances to do it sooner somehow. Maybe for every attack that your zombie does. But then I guess every time they attack, they're gonna get closer to summoning more zombies, so you'll get like a horde of them pretty quickly. Yeah. Maybe when your zombies attack, they lower the cooldown. Maybe having more party members increases the cooldown, so you don't just keep summoning infinitely. I'm not sure how I feel about the summoning multiple. Although if we do have summoned multiple, then I feel like they should have different shirt colors, which is something even I can do. That's not too bad. Do you have your custom homepage set for new tabs? Seems like browsers don't allow this anymore, and the extensions to do so are spotty. Yeah, I have a new tab redirect extension. New tab redirect. Yeah, this. Which is what I use. I think it's pretty good. I've been using it for a while. And then, yeah, the homepage itself, in case you haven't seen it, is homepage riser. So it's a tool I made a while ago, but it's really easy to modify this. You just click edit and, drag things around if you want to, and then just download your new one. And you can add new links, add rows, move rows around, whatever else. Working on your own idea. Okay, got it. Yeah. Yeah. It's been great. I've used something like this for so many years now. In fact, that's something I should probably talk about in that video. In the video I do on the top questions, I should probably share the home pagerizer. Oh, we got 10 minutes. I'm trying to keep an eye on time. Do I have any other summon ideas that we didn't actually include here? Adding a timer to spawn the zombie if there isn't one already, but you just heal it by a certain percent if it's alive. The thing is, I don't want the summoner to fill every role, and I feel like if they can summon, then the summon you don't really care about too much. So if it dies, then whatever. But it's sort of like expanding your maximum party's life size. So that, yeah, if you had the rogue and it had like 100 HP, and you have the warrior and it has 100 HP, I don't want the summoner to be like, well, the summoner itself has HP, and then their zombie has some HP, and then they can heal this thing. And at that point, they're sort of like a little bit of a tank and sort of like a little bit of a healer and a little bit of DPS. And I don't mind having a class that does all those things, but I don't think it should be the summoner. So I'm not actually, maybe that's the first question we need to answer is like, what role is this filling? Role does the summoner fill? And I think it's some combo of DPS and tank, but I'm not sure the ratio. Probably more DPS than tank. Hey, Prosto. Aren't you a little nervous for those interviews? I'm excited. I don't feel like I'm nervous. Although it's always hard to tell the difference until you're finally in the situation, I guess. But I don't have like my typical nerves symptoms. It's constantly on my mind that I don't want to be over time right now. Yeah, more DPS than tank. This is really just going to dictate the life of the zombies, I think. I don't think it's going to change the class design overall, because you could have it go either way. In fact, if you just wanted it to be a tank, you could just summon zombies and I guess you'd heal the zombies. Yeah, I guess that's an interesting thing. Healing just the zombies doesn't really fill the role of healer. So it would be okay to do. Then again, the zombies could maybe do this themselves with one of their attacks. Maybe they have bite, hits a single target and steals like 20% life, and scratch hits a single target, and has a 20% chance to poison them. That could be kind of cool. Fancier way to wait for the zombie to die and then spawn a new one, but is more forgiving if it's still. Yeah. I definitely agree with you there. And there are other ways you could do this too. You could say like, if the zombie's dead, summon it. If the zombie's alive, then give them like a power buff or something like that. It doesn't have to be healing, but yeah, you wouldn't want an ability that most of the time is just kind of unused. But I don't know what summons them. I think that's some of the biggest questions here. What summons the zombie? How many zombies can they have? So it could be start of battle, could be every so often, could be based on some event. Yeah. And how many how many can they have? I don't know what that would be either. Hang on one sec. Someday I'll stop coughing. I like these ideas for abilities for the zombies, though. I think that's pretty good. Also, other ideas, I guess we should say, is different shirt colors for the zombies. Yeah. Melee have damage and survivability. Ranger have range, usually crit. Magician have damage of all kinds. Summoner of zombies. Well, so the way that abilities work in this game is you only have 3 for each class. And one of them is not something that you have any mods for, so you can't put points into it. So for example, here's how the rogue is designed. The rogue has a passive ability that... Oh, Melmsie, thanks for resubbing. You're paying me to be interviewed. So yeah, rogue has an ability that says it will automatically kill an enemy if they're at 10% life or less. Then it has a really, really quick attack that always targets the lowest health enemy. So these two things synergize. And then it has an ability that gives them a buff for dodge and attack power. And then you can put points into some of these things so you can decrease the cooldown of your quick strike, for example, or you can increase the crit amount. So the summoner is also going to have 3 abilities, 2 of which you can put points into. And presumably one of those abilities is summon. Yeah. This has to take up an ability slot somehow. Best kind of interview. Imagine if you're watching a talk show and you see a $5 bill change hands. All right, I think we should wrap this up and probably switch into interview mode. But yeah, after lunch, I'll come back to this and we'll design the summoner. I'm really looking forward to adding them to the game and seeing kind of how this looks. We'll have 6 characters in the game. And then that's probably it for checkpoint 3. I don't think we're going to do more characters than that. And we'll add more later. So, yeah. All right, is there anything else I have on here? I don't think so. Switch back over to interview mode. Oh, I did not update the title. Let me do that. I also have to delete all the Godot stuff and this and this. And game dev can stay as a tag because we're going to be talking about game development. I like the power-ups idea too. Could spec into making a DPS zombie or a fast zombie or just summon frequency. Yeah, I find the summon frequency thing a little bit tough because it all depends on how long battles are. It's like if battles lasted 10 minutes, then changing the frequency by even a few seconds is going to be massively impactful. But if battles last for 15 seconds, then does it ever even come into play? So I don't have the answer for that. And I know that's a balance problem more than it is a design issue. Exactly. Do I have anything else I wanted to do here? No, I think that's pretty much it. Okay, so I'm going to move this over to here. And then let's get Discord up. Hang on a second. One of the things I got to do whenever I start a call with somebody is like resize a whole bunch of things and set the audio correctly. So I'm probably not going to be paying attention to chat for this interview, but I do want to know if audio is good. So we're going to do a little audio check. If he sounds louder than me or if I sound louder than him, please let me know. If it's like noticeably different, like, oh, I can't hear the other person because of one person talking. But other than that, if it's like mostly fine, then we're good because I don't want to distract from the interview. Can't hear me. Can't hear me compared to me. All right. You ready? I'm assuming Melmsie is in chat because he just resubbed. Yeah, he said yes. Okay, so I'm going to call and then we're going to kick this off. Let me do this and pop this out. Get Discord video. Hello, hello.
Hello.
So can you see me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, and chat, can you hear Melmsie okay compared to me? Is this good? Yeah. Melmsie, why don't you tell me what are you gonna have for dinner tonight?
Ooh, probably tacos. I think my
Tacos?
wife makes them with like beets and stuff in it. It's actually really good.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay. All right. Audio sounds good. So thank you for being here. First of all, I think this is great. Do you want to give a little intro for yourself so that people know who I'm talking to right now, who Melmsie is?
Sure. Hi, I'm Melmsie. I go by Mel casually, and I develop a Discord bot named Dank Memer. I've been doing so since 2017. Started as a hobby, and now it's a business that I do full time. And I do a few other small projects, but that's the majority of my time.
Okay, yeah. Do you mind giving a brief overview of what Dank Memer is and maybe a little bit about its evolution? I know you said it started as a hobby, but I think it has evolved over that time from just memes into more of a game. So yeah, why don't you tell us what it is?
Yeah, so if you aren't familiar with Discord, it's a chat platform, very common these days, replaced like Skype and TeamSpeak for a lot of people. And they have an API where you can build bots. And back in 2017, when I wanted to learn programming, I built a bot that basically reposted memes from Reddit to Discord using that bot. And one day, I don't even remember exactly why, I was like, it'd be really fun to have like kind of a currency system in this bot. And so we started building things like, you could have a balance, you could beg for coins, you could rob each other. And then it just kind of exploded from there to where we were getting thousands of servers weekly adding our bot. So it was no longer feasible to keep it as a hobby because server costs started growing because I didn't know anything about scaling at the time. Um, and then it's now to the point where it is primarily a text-based global currency game on Discord. You can add the bot to your server, start earning currency, interacting with other players, and your progress is saved anywhere you use the bot on Discord.
So
and it's something.
it is something. And my understanding is that I know you said it exploded once you added this currency, but it already had a lot of popularity even before that, didn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't too small. I want to say it was like 20,000, 30,000 servers had it just for like memes and just kind of the more funny functionality we had at the time.
Yeah, and how did you get the word out there for that functionality?
So there was these things, it's very niche. I don't know if other like games or any other industry has this, but there was these lists dedicated to listing bots on Discord. So you'd go to a website, you'd be like, I want a fun bot for my server. And it would be like, you could categorize things. So they had these upvote systems, and we would do something like, I don't remember the exact perks. I think you could like get extra or lower cooldowns if you posted, or for posting memes if you upvoted, and then we'd get higher on the list, and people just like memes. So
Yeah. I think, one of the things, and we're going to talk a lot about sort of game design and development, but one of the things I've realized is if you want a massively popular anything, comedy routine, bot, you need to target a common enough group of people. And that's why something like Candy Crush is massively popular and something like Dwarf Fortress is just popular. So okay, you had 20 to 30,000 servers using it. And then on a whim, you decided, let's add some currency. And now it's exploded to having, an order of low number of hundreds of thousands of monthly users. So what does your team look like behind this bot at this point?
Sure, great question. We've got kind of a diverse team doing super not traditional roles. We've got currently, as of right now, myself, which I do a lot of product management and game design specifically, not a lot of development anymore. I've got someone who does a majority of the bot development on the front end, so like what the users are actually, like the games that they're interacting with. And then I've got someone who works on the back end doing a lot of the infrastructure stuff. And then as far as development, that's about it. And then we've got a couple people who do we have a whole moderation team because we have to have rules with a global currency. And then we've got 2 pixel artists and a graphic artist. And that's what our team currently looks like.
Yeah. Well, so one of the things, again, for those who hadn't heard of Discord or haven't thought of games on chat applications, it's very different from a traditional like download Minecraft and you're looking at a game. There's animations, there's music, there's all this other stuff. You have pixel artists, but there's a certain amount of things you're restrained, you can't do, and then certain things that you have to do very differently. Can you talk about how it differs from traditional game development in that sense?
Yeah, and there's a lot of different facets of how it's different. Like on one hand, there's the obvious of you're working within Discord and like what tools they provide you. So we're stuck on using just basic Markdown. We can't do a lot of customization with what things look like. But then you've also got things like anti-cheat for a game like this. We can't, install a program on your computer. So we have to rely on kind of like processing data to like look for trends to just like give a red flag. We can't really do any automated like banning just because we can never be as sure as a game developer can be if you were downloading a game off Steam or something.
What does cheating look like? I don't want you to have to reveal, what do cheaters do exactly, but when you've seen cheaters in the past, what are they doing to manipulate the system? Is it creating lots of accounts?
So due to the nature of Discord, and I guess this is another reason it's different, people can make Discord accounts for free. It's not against their Discord terms of service to have multiple. So we can't like outlaw having multiple accounts, but what we try to do is we try to stop automation is a big one. And then the worst, most egregious, where most of our time is spent like fine tuning these like models and stuff, is people have written programs that can simultaneously run hundreds of thousands, not hundreds of thousands, sorry, thousands of accounts
Hmm.
to automate things at once. Like there's some like really complex, like I just saw one today that was in Golang, and you can just put in a bunch of tokens you buy from like a marketplace and like just run it. And we're like, okay, well, they're open source, so that helps us fight it a little bit more. But yeah, cheaters, it's mostly about automation.
Yeah. Well, you said tokens you can buy. Is this in-game tokens? Is it API tokens from something?
So the thing that makes fighting this kind of hard is Discord. How it works essentially is each user, each account has a token that they're operating under while they use the client. So they're buying Discord accounts and using those tokens from those accounts to automate it without having to have like different clients on their screen.
I see. And what I'm trying to understand is you said signing up for a Discord account is free. So they need these
Mhm.
tokens because I'm assuming Discord has some way of detecting when you do 100,000 account creations, or is there some other reason behind why they need these tokens?
Yeah, Discord does a little work there. They have some captchas, they have systems in place to like kind of quarantine accounts. But basically, uh, I guess the reason it's needed specifically is it's not realistic. Like it's not in a lot of games you'll have like auto clickers, right? Like
Mhm.
it'll be a visual program on a screen clicking something. Um, Everything these people are doing with these like complex scripts is fully like they'll put it on a server and like rotate IPs and like do all these things to avoid
I
detection.
see. I see.
So they need those Discord tokens to be able to automate that without even having a screen.
Yeah. Okay. So the anti-cheat looks very different. Do you have any sort of audio in the game at all?
No. Technically you can work with Discord's API to have a bot and a voice channel doing things. There's popular like music bots and stuff. But we haven't found a really good use case to be like, hey, join a voice channel to play so you can have certain audio. So we've basically gone audioless unless they're visiting our website and doing fun things there sometimes.
Okay. And what are those kinds of fun things on the website?
So we've had a lot of mini games in the past. We're in the middle of rewriting, so those have not made it over to the rewrite. But it's things like people found it really funny, and I personally found it funny. Like there would be like things you could click, and it'll just like have sound effects and stuff, and like just fun mini games. And we're working on something I can't go too in depth in, just
Mhm.
because it's not secret, but it's not. I don't like to make promises in case they don't turn out. But we're working on something that it's called a Discord activity. It's basically an activity in a voice chat where you more or less get an iframe to work with, and people can play games within Discord. And we're looking to expand into that, so that'll have audio and it'll be kind of a fishing mini game. So we're trying to explore options because I personally audio is a huge thing for me in games. So like it's really weird working day to day outside an environment that can allow that.
Yeah. Have you spent time making what I would call traditional games? Something where you download the game or you go to a website?
Not at any meaningful capacity. I keep spending a little bit of time learning, doing a little bit on like a project, and then going back to my regular work and getting sucked in back there. Um, but that is something I want to explore getting more into going
Yeah.
forward.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, this idea that you described about essentially having an iframe sounds like how do we get the traditional gameplay with the constraints of what Discord provides for us? So
Mhm.
it's interesting. And the fishing mini game and everything. Um, do you feel as though the branding Dank Memer is helping now or hurting?
That's a great question. I think it kind of it feels almost misleading. Like it's definitely a name where if you say it in a Discord server, the people who have been around for years, it's very possible they know the name. In that case, our branding's been pretty strong.
Hmm.
However, it doesn't really say much about the game, but we're too far in to change it at this point too.
Yeah.
So we do our whole game is still very like memey. We're very non-serious. Like the bot will not always be kind to you if you like put in a wrong argument or something. We don't take it too seriously, like
Hmm.
in a UX perspective. Um, so in that sense, it still kind of matches, but it is definitely not the most obvious thing when you like see it
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah. But that's interesting because the evolution of a product, at what point do you say, okay, we're switching branding? And I know major companies do this from time to time, but then they have the resources to put more wood behind that arrow. Um, speaking of having resources, how do you monetize this?
So we've done a lot of different forms of this over the years. So like I said at the start, it was a hobby. So naturally, we got to the point where my own bank account was being drained for server costs. So we made a Patreon, and we're like, hey, if you guys could just support, there's no perks, but it'll keep the bot going. Um, and then at a certain point, it was taking so much time, and the Patreon was growing. I was like, I should probably do this as like an income. Like this feels like the natural next step. So eventually, what we got into is having like a full-on subscription system with different like perks, like different bonuses in game. Like one of them is, and robbing is still in the currency. Like if someone robs you, you lose less coins when they rob
Mhm.
you. Basic stuff like that. And then recently, in the last year and a half, 2 years, we've moved still to have subscriptions, but more of a focus on like a premium currency, kind of like you'd see in a mobile game.
Yeah.
Because of the nature of this needing to be free to play, with it being on Discord, we really have to lean into like mobile monetization. So yeah, premium currency is the current like focus there.
Okay. And do you feel like it's all been well received? Has there ever been something where you made waves and there was chaos and people said, no, I don't like this or I want to change?
With the monetization.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely been, and I completely get it. Like I would never detract from their opinions on this. There's definitely been a large number of people who feel that things can be too pay to win at times, and I'm
Mhm.
like, I do get that. Like I truly do. So we try to find balances where like Warframe. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
I'm not,
Was a
no.
big inspiration.
Mhm.
It has a lot of microtransactions in the game, but you can do a lot of that for free. It's more pay for convenience than pay to win.
Mhm.
Is something we try to bridge as much as we can.
Okay. I think that's a good compromise. I feel like games as an industry, it's just changed so much that it used to be only you bought a box product. There were no subscriptions. And obviously we've changed more and more to subscriptions and microtransactions, and those can be sustaining for what people need. You are able to sustain your team, which you said has several people on it, the moderation team and everything. Are you and you don't have to answer this if this is too personal. Are you happy with the outlook of, let's say, the next year or two of where Dank Memer is going?
So as of right now, post COVID, and there's been some Discord changes, which is a whole long conversation. Um, our user rate is stable. It's
Mhm.
no longer steadily growing. It's not declining. It's stable. So a year from now, I do see it being equally successful. Whether or not we're still actively month over month making active features, I don't know for sure. We have the team itself has had a lot of ideas for things outside of Dankmemer, but um, the current model we have is sustainable.
Okay. I want to come back to this in just a second. The lots of ideas outside of Dank Memer, because I want to sort of paint the story of your journey. This started about 7 years ago, and you said you didn't have a lot of experience doing this, not a lot of experience developing, and certainly not the level of success that you had as you grew this out. So what did that look like for you? At what point did you say, I can't do this on my own, or I need more expertise? Were you scrambling? Were you stressed? How did all of that unfold for you?
So a lot of it started getting really stressful when it became a currency game and a business. When those two started intertwining, things got really complex. I brought on a friend who started development at the same time as me. His name is Zane, and he was a lot more programming focused. Like that was a lot more his skill set than mine. So he was pretty integral for being the person that would help with stability, because that was like one of our biggest initial challenges. Because in the beginning, it's not this way anymore, but in the beginning, the bot was a giant monolith, one single service, and it was gateway based on Discord, which it's just not super stable if you don't build it right.
Yeah.
So, um, kind of when it was him and I again starting to scramble, and I felt like I was constantly behind on content I wanted to make, and he was constantly behind on stability. That's when we brought in a couple more developers who knew about development and knew about Discord, but they weren't like core, like they can do any seat like Zane and I were doing at the time. And they helped me expand the user facing content a ton.
Hmm.
And then at a certain point, we decided we can't just go off developers. We need we need artists, because I was doing some of my own art. One of the other developers was doing some art. It was really bad. Like people love it to this day. Like some of the items in the game have skins of the original like art, and people love it. But just at a certain point, I just realized like while I can wear a lot of hats, if I want it to keep growing and be successful, I simply can't.
Yeah. Yeah. So is Zane still working? You said you had a front end and an infrastructure. Those are the main devs, and then some non-traditional roles. Is Zane still there?
So this is a very bittersweet change,
Oh,
but actually August was his last month because he's been in university for a while, and he actually just accepted a job offer at Uber. So I'm very happy for him, and definitely like a really big step up from working on a Discord bot, but also bittersweet because we're gonna miss him.
wow. Yeah. Well, look, I asked about your journey. This is equally interesting that when a lot of people ask me on the stream, hey, do you need a computer science degree to get started? And it's like, no, obviously you don't. There is so much proof out there in the world. And yet, how many people are like, hey, I worked on a Discord bot for, 7 years, right? Zane started with you pretty much and then went to work for Uber. And then who knows what will happen after that. And maybe he'll come back. Maybe he'll find some time to work on it. Who knows? But yeah, I can see how that's bittersweet. Congrats to him, by the way. So now, you mentioned how you grew out the team, how you felt. You've learned a lot over that time. And then you said you have lots of ideas outside of Dank Beamer when I asked about the outlook for the next year or two. Can you share any of those? Or any? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So obviously we've got this huge repository of art and we've got an existing community. And it feels almost a little silly to not leverage that existing community to be like, hey, if you liked this game, we're also working on this new game. Come check it out. Myself and the current, I guess you'd call it front end developer, his name is Badosh, and he has a slight history in Steam game development. He's put out a few small ones, just kind of for fun. So we've talked about using our existing art assets to build we've talked about an idle game. We've talked about an incremental game. Like we just kind of small things that work with like our pixel art sprites.
Yeah.
And then past just that, like me personally, I'm a huge fan of like horror games and multiplayer games. And so I've been looking a lot into like the 3D space and learning how to develop in like C# with Unity. So we have a lot of plans that aren't super concrete. It's more like we have the assets, well, we don't have the time currently. We have the potential to have time. And we have the drive. We all of us like working together. We like what we do. So just something in the game development world with kind of a jumping off point with where we have. We have a Discord server with 200 some thousand members. So like it's a great place to start.
I want to just address that very last bit before moving to some other stuff because I'm curious. Do you know what the biggest Discord server is?
I don't currently, but there used to be a limit. They used to cap it at like 500,000. I want to say they took off the limits for some of their partners. I think it might be Midjourney. Maybe has like 1 million members or something crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. This, by the way, just an aside here. It's almost unfathomable that platforms popped up that had almost nothing to do with games. Discord was gaming adjacent. It was chat for gamers. And now it is a game platform somehow. And at one point, they even experimented with being a game store, and then they ditched that idea. Yeah. Anyway, I want to get back to the track that I had originally, which is, so you said you don't have time right now, but you have a lot of ideas. You have a lot of resources you can leverage. I think it's good to explore that. When will you get the time? When does that happen? When do you build out this game or prototype it or share it with your audience?
That I feel like is the never-ending question that can't always be answered. I feel like, I've seen your streams for a few years now. Like, I feel like you probably feel the same way in some ways of like, you have these projects that you want to work on, and you're like, but I could be doing this, and these users or these people will be really happy to see this. And then you're also like, but also I need to find a way to carve out some time to do my next thing. And that's kind of where we are of like, our users are happy, but they love the fact that we give regular updates. So our goal right now is we're spending a lot of time on development tooling. We're spending a lot of time on like games that people enjoy that are sustainable long term, not just I completed all the content. And then once we've got enough of that where we feel confident where we can kind of devote half of our time to that and still have about the same output is when we'll start switching time to a new project.
Yeah, I was going to say it's either got to be something like that or ditching the game or finding a maintenance team who can work on this and still produce some profit as you're going. I think it is tough. I think there are people out there who seem to be able to manage many different irons in the fire at a time, and it to me seems like a superpower. So that you're even spending time learning how to do 3D stuff, picking up Unity, picking up C# when you don't have a Unity game out there right now is admirable. So good job.
Thanks.
There's another skill that you said that you had to hone quite a lot, which was addressing feedback. You get tons of feedback, and it doesn't always mesh with itself because there are different people giving this feedback. How do you sort through it? How do you prioritize it? How do you find the time to even do any of this?
For people out there who are familiar with game design and are making their own games, I feel like this is personally a very hot topic, very up for debate. I think there is this sense of some people think they need to make a game that people want to play, and they need to follow as much feedback as possible. And then some people think that they should be making the game that they want to play, and if people want to play it, they will. You got to find a balance, is my opinion here. I lean a little bit more towards the game that I want to make, but still inviting a lot of that user feedback in for things that don't matter against my large goals. So like a good example is because we're an economy game, global scale, any minor changes can influence everyone globally.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you think of an incremental game like Cookie Clicker, it doesn't matter if people are getting massive numbers because it's their own personal games. Like nothing bad is going to happen there. So when we have to look at the global numbers and we have to see something is a little bit too strong, everyone's going to focus on this system, all the other things are going to fall by the wayside. We have to bring it back a little bit. And people don't like that, obviously. And they're like, well, my feedback is this, my feedback is that. And we have to figure out what's the best balance for like the actual health of the game,
Mm-hmm.
but also for player fun. And like that's something that I've had to learn the hard way for sure. Because sometimes to me, looking at data, it's like, well, this is the obvious answer. But then people playing it, they're like, that might be the obvious answer, but I'm not having any fun anymore.
Yeah. Well, and this is what I find very interesting. If I always kind of say, if you're making a business product, you're making, let's say, Microsoft Excel. It's like, okay, you can figure out how people get their needs met. You can maybe figure out how easy it is, but fun doesn't really factor into it. And fun is so hard to measure, and it's different for everybody. So do you have any examples of a time when you made something where the data didn't show that it was the best decision, but players loved it?
That's a good question. Let me think. Did make the best. Okay. So we do have a fishing minigame already in text form. Like it's not text; it's got images technically. And we intended to release it in a way because the whole game, for the most part, up until this point, was like, how do I make my numbers go higher? I want more money. I want to, etc. But we wanted a passion project of this fishing minigame, and we didn't really want it to be focused around money at all in the currency. We wanted it to be focused around progression and completion and collection. And we built this, and we even told users up front, like, we are building this. It's going to be really exciting, but it's not going to be about making profit. You probably just won't make a profit.
Yeah.
And when we released it, it made a lot of profit. It was broken. Like it was like badly broken. And so my immediate reaction is what I wanted to do is basically take that back to like 1% of what it was doing. Cause I'm like, we told you up front, like this shouldn't be a surprise that we don't want this. But a lesson we've learned in the past is you can't just nerf something immediately massively because it's too big of a shock.
Yeah.
You have to slowly rein things in. So as we slowly reined it in, we had this whole plan to keep doing so over like a period of 2 or 3 months. And we hit this certain threshold of like how much money fish were selling for, where people were like, I don't really feel like this is really worth my time anymore. And we saw numbers drastically start to dip. And so we had to kind of stop there. But now these days, it's making money. It's doing the thing we didn't want it to do. On paper, it didn't really make sense. It still doesn't make the most sense, but people are genuinely enjoying it. And as a business sense now, it's a driver of income because it's got a lot of cosmetics and such. So it worked out in the end. And that's one of the things that's really hard is sometimes you have to fail to figure out what works, because I don't think our initial vision would have been fun at this point.
Yeah, that is always a challenge though, right? And I feel like this holds true for so many industries that you'll probably learn more failing than you will being successful at something, because at least then you learn what doesn't work and you can start trying to figure out where to go from there. Some of the examples I've heard from other people who've been working on games are things like, hey, we actually had to make the win rates between two players more disparate because people wanted to either really win or really lose, but not like kind of just eke out a win or something. So yeah, this fishing game, I think, is a good example of that. It made me wonder, from a game design perspective, why do people collect these items? I understand there's an economy, but doesn't that mean there needs to be a function for these items? Like, what do fish do in the game?
So there's outside of fish, I'll leave fish out because for the most part they are just to sell for
Okay.
profit
Yeah.
at this point and collection. But items has been a core of the economy. Like there's items you can buy, collect, trade, etc. At first, all the items when we started the currency stuff, they all had functions. The functions were really quirky, kind of funny. But then people were like, I want a new item. I want a new item. And within the scope of our game, we're like, we can only have so many items have usages before it's like, we just can't have any more items. So we introduced a collectible item type, which is basically this item does nothing, but you can collect it. It's worth nothing. You can't sell it. You can't use it. It's just a collectible. In some ways, the collectibles are still for progression because, for instance, there's a system where you need to turn in a certain amount of a certain item to get a reward. So some of those certain items can be collectibles. But we found that what people back then and even now really enjoy, like a whole subset of people, is completion and achievements. So we've made sure to put a lot of effort, especially in the fishing system, into like seeing how many fish you've discovered for the first time. So it's like, it's not just a number of here's how many you discovered, it's here's how many you discovered out of here's how many is possible. And like visualizing that and making it a big focus. And that has really driven people to enjoy collecting, even if it's also for profit. Like our last update, Pokemon has a Pokédex, and you kind of fill it out. We did something similar with the fish because we're like, we've got over 100 variants of fish at this point. So like, it'd be fun to just have a page where you can see question marks or the fish you had. People love it. Like it's getting a ton of traffic from the fishing players. So
yeah, this is, I touched on this earlier, that you've got to target a large enough swath of people. Within those then are these different demographics of people. I think they're officially like psychographics of people who like a certain kind of gameplay. It's like if you release an RPG, some people love exploration and hate trading. Some people love item collection. Is there a segment of players that you either like prioritizing or don't like prioritizing based on what they enjoy? Because you said you like making this game partially for what you enjoy, right?
Yeah. One thing we did with this game is we made it an insanely wide scope. There's a lot of different gameplay past making numbers go bigger, or different ways to make numbers go bigger that are completely separate from each other. So one thing we have, so like we talked about robbing, for example, people can rob each other. Some people love robbing each other. And it holds a place in my heart because it was one of the first things I built, like in this whole system. Other people, understandably, hate getting robbed because they're like, I grinded for all this money and now I just lost it. So as much as I understand it, it pains me to make all these things of like, here's how you can avoid being robbed. Here's like, we had to make a passive mode and we have to constantly decide, this new system to interact with each other. If you're in passive mode, can you interact with each other or not? Because we have to have upsides and downsides. I just wish robbing was on all the time, but I understand it wouldn't be as fun.
Yeah. Those are the kinds of things. I feel like you also have power users who are very vocal, even though maybe they're a minority. And something that blows me away, I've played a lot of Blizzard games, and I feel like for whatever reason, that's got to have some of the most negative fans out of any company. And I don't understand it, but it's like any news article I read, my reaction is, oh, hey, that sounds cool. And then I read comments saying like, this is the worst. This is ruining the game. Why don't they fire these people? So anyway, I think you have to accommodate players, even if they don't like what you're doing, or even if you don't agree with the play style.
Yeah. And that's actually a great example too, because one system we have is fighting, where you basically put up a wager of your own, and there's a fight command that's partially RNG, but there's different moves that do different amount of damages or upsides or downsides. A fighting community is what you just described with the Blizzard community. Any change, it's all you see is anger. But then a few months later, they're all still playing and they're happy, and then they're like, "Oh, it wasn't that bad." But initially, they're all like, "This is the worst thing ever. I'm so upset."
Yeah, and
That's the fighting community for us.
yeah, and I don't want to go totally out on a limb here and talk about this, but I think that people don't recognize how much work and care and love goes into these games, and they just think this isn't what I want. Why are they not catering to what I want? So yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry you have to deal with that, but it sounds like they play. So
that's very true, because a lot of times you'll see in the feedback, because we do, like, we try to do a survey like every 3 months, and a lot of the feedback, people will say, "You made this change for no reason," or "You made this change and I don't know, and I don't." I had one person the other day, I was reading feedback, and they said, "And I don't care why, change it back."
Wow.
But yeah, people, they don't, and again, it's understandable, but people think like, "Here's how I play. Why would you change this? Like, what was so bad about it?"
Well, that's the other side of this coin too, I think, which is if people can't see the reason, then they just start coming up with their own, and then they shoot those down as why that's a bad reason, when that may never have had anything to do with why you made that choice in the first place. And that's also why I think communication from developers is important. It sounds like you do these surveys. Do you ever need to do things like a Q&A where people can ask you questions? Does that help quell any of this sentiment? Do you think it's making an impact?
So we actually do monthly blog posts. It's basically like what's going on in development, address any important issues that have popped up in the last month, and that's helped a little bit, but it's only really read by our power users. So we've tried things like Q&As. They went okay, but we tried to do them once a month, but it was like the same questions every time, and we're like, this just doesn't really feel like we're doing a lot of productive stuff here.
Yeah.
So like one thing we've done is in our Discord server, there's a sneak peek channel. So I'll be like, "Hey, we're working on this upcoming feature," and then I'll specifically list out like some super exciting things to get people hooked, and it's a short paragraph so people don't lose attention span. And then underneath of it, it'll be like, "And here's why this change is happening." Like, to try to like get it right in front of their faces for any important changes coming up.
Yeah, and as a consumer of games, I find that helpful too, to at least know what the developers are thinking, because at least then I know, okay, here's what they determined, and not try to come up with my own reasons, because sometimes it's impossible. You just don't have that insight as a player. Talking about game design, you read a book. I'm going to read the title of it: Level Up: The Guide to Great Video Game Design by Scott Rogers. And you, I think, loved this book. Is that accurate to say?
I got through half of it. I haven't finished it yet. I have it on my nightstand, and I try to read it whenever I'm not exhausted at night. But yeah, it's a really good book.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, because I have not read this book, what are your biggest takeaways from it?
Okay, that's a good question. So this book specifically, and I haven't read a lot of books about game design specifically, so I don't know if this is the norm or not. But this book specifically takes a lot of time to explain game design concepts historically and what the game designers were thinking at the time. So one of my biggest takeaways is really, this sounds super philosophical, but I don't mean it this way. Like, people don't understand each other, and sometimes you need to use that to your advantage, but like, it's gonna just be a thing you struggle with when designing games.
Yeah.
Like, every game designer, good, bad, in between, is gonna struggle with understanding why someone else wants to do something, or someone else is gonna struggle to understand why they're doing it. And this book is pretty good about showing like a lot of perspectives from the actual designers of these games historically. And like, they're games that I've played, and I'm like, okay, actually that makes a lot of sense. Like, you don't think about it, but like, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. It's almost like a case study. Hey, here's a game that exists, you might have played. And I've seen this done in a way I really like. Sometimes they'll break down a game mechanic. Like, hey, our pro players find that this is overpowered, and our new players find that it's not strong enough. And it's like, well, the item is just different in the hands of different people. How do we balance that out? And they talk about what they did and how they did it. And I like reading about that stuff. How do you apply that to what you're doing? People don't understand each other. How do you, what do you do to overcome that?
So part of it is those posts I was talking about. And then a lot of it is these, you'll see a lot of surveys, and it'll be like, did you have fun after that match? Or did you, like, what do you like? We try to do these big surveys, and we try to incentivize people to actually do them. and it's really in depth, like questions that you wouldn't expect, or at least I wouldn't expect to see other game developers asking. And it's things like, you know, did you enjoy this? And if they selected yes or no, it'd go to a different flow, and it'd be like, what specific part of this didn't you enjoy? Like, and then I try to convince them to give as much detail as possible. And when I'm looking through that feedback, what I'm looking for is things that are not the norm
Hmm.
specifically, because like you can see trends and like that's easy to see and quantify. But I look for like these edge cases of users who like we learned at one point we learned there was a certain feature that was just like it was complicated, but I couldn't see why, the developers couldn't see why, and our power users couldn't see why.
Yeah.
But through looking at these edge cases, we found kind of a compromise that everyone enjoyed in the end. It was better even than just like making a massive change. And I don't think I would have found that through like a regular, what do you like about this bot
Yeah.
survey?
Yeah. You'd have to count on people recounting what they might have thought at, minute number 3 of playing a game. Yeah. Well, so on the topic of game design, and you have the successful game, what do you think, if you look at the industry at large, talking about indie developers, what do you think are maybe the most common mistakes you see indie devs making?
Okay. So I don't want to put myself as an expert just because
No, yeah, yeah.
Discord development is different. But I do see a lot of Discord bots trying to do game bots that do make a lot of these mistakes. And a lot of it is a lot of people think like programmers while they're designing the games. And I've learned, and it helps me that I tried to learn programming, and it's not like my best skill. I've learned that programmers often think very logically. They think through steps like, well, obviously this is in front of your face, so you're going to want to click it. But you have to learn to design games in a way that isn't logical. Like you have to think. It helped us to have a team of basically we have people who played the game in advance or played an update in advance, and we would just ask them their thoughts on a few things.
Hmm.
But it's helpful to find people that don't know the intricacies, that aren't reading everything. And specifically when we find these testers, we're not looking for power users
Yeah.
for most of the positions, because I think that's a big mistake, people looking at it too programmatically, because sometimes I feel like sometimes looking at it that way just makes it a lot less fun in general.
Yeah.
um
It,
so
I'm sure you've seen this happen, probably even with people you know in real life, where they're looking at an error message on a computer saying, why won't this work? And literally the answer to their question is in that error dialogue. And they just, it's like a blindness. There's no processing of that information. And as a game developer, like you said, it's easy as a programmer to say, okay, well, here's what I'm doing. There's a message right there on the screen. They're going to read this, but people don't sometimes. And I feel like one of the learnings I've had is that if everyone is encountering a problem, then there's a problem with that thing. It's not that you can blame your users for all that stuff. So anyway, yeah, working around that I think is really challenging. I want to make sure we can devote enough time to this next topic, because you said you wanted to talk about ADHD, and I feel like it's probably informed a lot of your journey over the last 7 years. You said you were diagnosed last year, and it changed how you thought about your career. Just open-ended, how did it change that? How did it change how you think about your career?
So my diagnosis specifically changed my career because I still have imposter syndrome. I think everyone in our industry has imposter syndrome at one point or another. But it helped me realize that like me not being able to focus on a task, or me jumping between tasks, doesn't necessarily mean what I was working on is bad or boring and everyone's going to hate it. It doesn't necessarily mean um, it doesn't define anything. That's kind of the point of before, when I really just thought like, I'm making this thing, I'm not having fun with it, this must just be bad and I'm gonna fail at doing this. It helped me realize that like my brain literally works a little differently, and just because I'm spending 3 weeks working on one thing does not mean someone who's playing with it for half an hour isn't gonna have fun. So it a lot of it was like resetting the way I think specifically about my own work, and what I'm doing with it. And I feel like since I've gotten that diagnosis, my game development has primarily changed in the sense of I'm able to do things correctly
Mm-hmm.
instead of rushing them out because I'm worried, like, well, this is going to fail anyway. I want to get on to the next thing.
That's very interesting. So I have a layperson's understanding of ADHD. supplemented by some psychologist friends and some recent research in preparation for this interview. And that is not at all what I thought you were going to say when I asked about this. You essentially, if I'm to sum up, you would work on something, and because of the amount of time or your current feeling while working on it, would think that it's going to be received differently. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you find the usual, I guess, focus, hyperfixation, bouncing between tasks, losing your contact? Did you find those sorts of issues that typically go hand in hand with ADHD?
So I do definitely have those issues. And the thing that kind of clicked with me getting my diagnosis is, oh, that's what that is. Like, instead of thinking, like negatively about myself.
I see.
So I definitely do. And like some of my best and worst projects have been things that I hyper focused on that came literally out of the blue. I'm like, let's put aside this project and go full in on this new one that I just wrote documentation for today. Like, so yeah, I definitely do get a lot of the stereotypical symptoms as well.
Yeah. Well, I have, this is a burning question in my mind, which is what led to you getting that diagnosis?
Man, I wasn't okay. That's a good question.
Well, again, you don't have to answer this, but
no, it's not like it's too personal or anything. I think. Let me start by saying, I think my mom has ADHD, but she said, and I don't know how old she is, and she probably wouldn't like me telling anyway. She said, at my age, why would I get diagnosed? Because I've learned to live with it.
Yeah.
And while I think that is absolutely valid because everyone's different, everyone works differently. For me, I'm like, well, I've learned to live with it. There's things that I feel like I'm glad I got the diagnosis because there's things I can think about differently about myself. But specifically what led me to it is I was just in a huge period of like burnout, and the burnout was starting to lead to like a lot of depression, and it was affecting my work, my personal life. And I basically was looking for a therapist, and I found one that was neurodivergent friendly. And I was just kind of describing a lot of the problems I was having. And they're like, would you like to take this test that tests for X, Y, and Z? And I was like, yeah, it wouldn't hurt. I mean, I've always kind of wondered because like, I didn't think I had ADHD, actually. I was thinking other things, but because I was never like the type of person to be, you see stereotypically, which we now know is incorrect, of to have ADHD, you have to be bouncing off walls. Yeah. Like, you have to be super hyperactive. But what I learned is hyperactivity can show itself in lots of ways. Mm-hmm. Like I'll watch a video and then I'll like repeat the viral sound over and over for like 3 days straight. That's hyperactivity. Like, so yeah, it was really just a lot of burnout and negative feelings that led me to getting therapy. And then it was kind of one after another. So
yeah. And you kind of described it, my words here, but like a light turning on saying, oh, that's what that was. And I wonder, this is an out there hypothetical question. Let's say you could go back in time to when you're half the age you are now. What's maybe the biggest thing that you've learned that could have addressed some of those signs that you weren't even aware were signs at the time?
I think the biggest thing that I could have benefited from, so just to be clear, you're essentially asking if I could have gone back and known way earlier that I had this, what would I have? Okay.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing would be I would have stuck to things more because I would have been able to earlier in life learn skills to be able to stick to projects and commitments, because it's not as easy as like make a to-do list and follow it. Yeah. Like I would probably have a college degree right now if I had known earlier in life because I would have been able to get accommodations for myself. So yeah, sticking to things would be the big thing.
Well, and on that topic, you mentioned your journey getting to 2017 when you started game dev, included web design, videography, being a chef. Was that a result of the ADHD essentially?
I think it was a little bit of that, a little bit of what am I going to do with my life? Like, I was still pretty young and I had just dropped out of college, and I technically switched my degree to, I think it was called information sciences or something. And we were doing some programming. I'm like, this is really fun. My professor told me, hey, this is not the best use of your money to go to this university for this degree. And I appreciate him being really honest. It seems a little backwards for him to convince the students to drop out. But so then I dropped out, and that's when I started web design, and I was like, this is really fun. The people who I've worked with are enjoying the websites I made. Looking at them now, oh my god, they were so terrible. I don't know how they enjoyed them. Um, but then I stopped getting jobs with that, so I moved back to my hometown. I got my high school job back, but this time I was a manager there, and so I was working in the kitchen, making a lot of food, experimenting with stuff like that. And it was, looking back at it now, like, I don't know if ADHD necessarily caused a lot of the jumping I did,
Mhm.
but it definitely made it easier to consume for me. Like, I didn't feel bad jumping from job to job, because it was keeping me engaged and interested.
I see. I see. Well, so um, there's a question I want to ask about this. Let me think about this for a second. You've jumped between all these things. You settled on where you are now. Oh yeah, yeah. You mentioned a while ago. That's what I was trying to remember. You said you've had a very sort of non-traditional career path, and you certainly have. I mean, dropping out, going to where you are now, having what you're doing. Do you feel like you're locked into that non-traditional career path? This is based on something you said a long time ago, so it's hard for me to formulate that question.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Um, I That's something I'm currently kind of wrestling with. Because I've redone my resume. I try to keep it up to date every year, not just if I'm looking. Um, and I've got my resume to a place where I like it, but it's very niche. Like, in the grand scheme of things, it's hard for someone to go into game design as a field in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of jobs for game design, they require a lot of experience. I have experience, but it's so incredibly niche. Like, I've built skills that I'm confident with, especially in the sense of like building a product that people love to play but can also be monetized. Um, but I do feel locked in the sense of it's really hard to sell my non-traditional experience to a more traditional company.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you never know, am I going to get sort of under leveled if I go to a traditional company? Is this going to be a good fit for me? Am I going to feel like I'm too confined when I'm there?
Absolutely.
So I see what you're saying now. Okay. Thank you. And I'm sorry it took a long time to get to that point.
You're
um,
fine.
on another topic, you've started a podcast, ironically called Hyper Focused, where you talk about, I believe, ADHD and its impact, and you're up to 4 episodes. What are your favorite topics you've explored with? You're doing it with a friend, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. What are your favorite topics you've explored with that friend?
So I'm going to start by saying, in case anyone did decide to go look that up, in classic ADHD fashion, we're really bad about posting regularly. So it kind of fits in. Maybe it's on purpose. I don't know. Um, but I think our favorite topic is, we like to talk about specifically people's external perceptions of ADHD.
Mhm.
And we make it very clear we're not experts. This is our own personal history and like what we've realized over the years. Um, but it, there's so many things that go into ADHD that people who are neurotypical or have a different neurodivergency just might not realize. Um, and there's a lot of like negativity and stigma around ADHD. So we do really enjoy talking about that, because we've had, I mean, we don't have a lot of people who have listened to it, but a lot of people who have listened to it are instantly like, wow, this makes me feel so much better that other people are having this experience. And that makes us feel good to hear as well. So,
Yeah, I see that normalization happening across society very slowly. I think this is one of those cultural shifts that it takes multiple generations before people destigmatize things. And it's super unfortunate, because if you happen to live in a time or a culture where it's stigmatized, then just too bad for you, right? Like
yeah.
there's really, yeah. So now we have some more awareness about it. And I was, like I said, I read recently and I did some research on this, and I guess the genetic transference rate of ADHD is something like 70 to 80%. The people who get it mostly got it genetically. And then, yeah. So I feel like it's probably here to stay, and it's probably being affected by our usage of computers and phones. And yeah, more awareness and more acceptance and more sort of like you said, overcoming any issues or thoughts you might have had. And you've developed some mechanism now. And yeah, who knows? Maybe, your mom would have gotten a diagnosis, whatever, 30 years ago, and who knows how it could have changed her life. So
Yeah.
I'm going to pivot hard left over here because we have about 10 minutes left. I want to talk about the cybersecurity nonprofit you're working at. Can you do the same thing you did with Dank Memer and do a little intro of what the company is and sort of what your role is there?
Sure. So it's the same friend that I do that podcast with. His name is Aaron, and he's got, I think he just got his master's in cybersecurity. And him and his friend, who was also in cybersecurity, built this nonprofit, and they recently invited me on within the last year. And their goal is to help cybersecurity be more accessible to learn. Because while there is like, you can, it's the internet age, you can search up how to learn these things. You can even learn them without degrees. They found a lot of resources lacking in the ability to be read by a layman.
Hmm.
And so their goal is basically to build a community and potentially some products to help people empower their cybersecurity careers, whether they're beginners, which is where they brought me in a little bit because I don't know anything about cybersecurity, or people on more their end of the spectrum who are been doing this for years professionally.
So it sounds like a worthy goal. Is the team the three of you?
No, it's a super non-traditional structure. It is a nonprofit. We have board meetings. I'm on the board. Um, it's kind of a even with it being a nonprofit, it's kind of a side project for everyone on the team.
Hmm.
And they kind of bring people in and out as needed for like, hey, you've got this kind of skill. Would you mind helping us? So a lot of people who are volunteering volunteer their time specifically. Um, so like for myself, I came on initially to be a board member and help out with giving some like user experience advice for a product that they're working on called Cyber Courses, which is going to be a website to like basically find and track resources specifically. So that's kind of what I've done there so far. And yeah.
Yeah. Those are the kinds of things where you don't need deep cybersecurity experience to be able to help with UX on cyber courses. Is the primary way that they plan on helping to aggregate existing resources? You mentioned community and product. Are they, I guess I'll just leave it at that. Yeah. How are they planning on helping people learn cybersecurity?
So it's my understanding that the current plan is definitely a bit of utilizing existing resources because there's a lot of great resources out there and aggregating them in a way that is easy to, I guess, again, find. But
Yeah.
then also on top of that, kind of writing their own pieces of like, here's a post about like why these sources are good and like why, like what level they might be helping you at. So it's going to be a little
I
bit
see.
of both of their own content as well as aggregating.
Okay. And yeah, the last big thing I want to ask about is what's been the impact so far, both on you and your experience? Have you been, feeling positive about this? And also on the people who endeavor to learn cybersecurity. Has it helped people already?
So I'm not super into the day to day. I am in the Discord server, and in the Discord server, I do see a lot of people asking questions, getting help with their questions. A lot of people who are like students who are kind of talking about it. And in that sense, from what I know, yes, there's definitely some help ongoing. We are still fledgling, not a lot of funding. So we think uh, our big points that will really be helping people are going to be things like cyber courses that we develop and get out once they're released.
I see. Okay. Yeah, and do you like the experience? If another friend came to you, Aaron too, and said, "Hey, I have another nonprofit. I'd like you to join," would you say, "Yeah, I think I'll do that"?
I think nonprofits are great. This one definitely part of the reason for me being on it is because my friend approached me.
Yeah.
But I kind of like giving people like at least my perspective on like products. Like this one specifically, it helped a lot because like we talked about in game design, it's kind of similar. They in some ways they were looking at it very programmatically from
Yeah.
both the programmer side and they had a lot of cybersecurity experience. So like one of the early things is I was like, hey, this specific view is still going to be confusing for someone who knows nothing. And I know because I know nothing.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too
So it's
because
nice that way.
their very goal is to help the sort of layperson to make these resources more consumable, and yet, hey, they almost would have fallen into the same traps that all the resources out there fall into. So it's good that you can provide that perspective.
And I do want to point out because I initially thought it was only for like beginners. They do want to help anyone at any level.
I see.
So
Yeah.
I would be remiss to not mention that. But,
Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about some game dev, game design, ADHD, the cybersecurity startup, or the nonprofit. I want to ask you a question sort of out of left field, which is you were a full-time streamer at one point. Do you ever miss streaming? And if so, what do you miss about it? Or are you just happy to be done with it?
I actually miss streaming incredibly. Like if I, people ask that question of like, if you had all the money you needed and you could just do one career for fun, I think I'd do streaming. Like, um, I'm a very in person, socially awkward person. I'm not great at small talk or making a lot of friends. But on the internet, I feel like I just kind of open up. And I miss having a regular group of people, like a small community to be talking to and sharing experiences with. So I definitely do miss it. It was a lot of fun. And I really liked the technical aspect, like the producing behind the scenes too. So
Yeah. It's funny how that happens, right? Like you didn't have an alter ego on stream. Some people do. They have a character that they play, and yet it still sort of unlocked some part of you that's just different from real life. It's funny how that happens. Uh, I don't have anything else I want to ask, only because we're close enough to time. Is there anything else you'd like to share? Do you want to plug anything? Do you have any links you want to talk about? Should people go download, or I guess make a Discord account, download Discord, and try out Dank Memer?
that's a very funny new. It's funny. Okay, since we have just a minute, it, getting people to try our game is such like we don't do any advertising for that reason because it's not download the game. It's make a Discord account, make a Discord server, invite the game. Like, that's a very funny challenge that we deal with that a lot of game developers don't. If people want to download Dank Memer, it's free to play. With, as we talked about earlier, monetization that you might want to take part in for cosmetics and such. It's a fun time with your friends. So obviously I am biased, but I recommend it. And then if you're looking to get into cybersecurity, keep your eye on cyber info. We're hoping to be coming up and an up and coming player in that kind of field. So
yeah, cool. Well, look, I really appreciate this, Melmsie. I'm glad you could take the time. I had fun talking to you, and I'm looking forward to seeing sort of the next step for Dank Memer with all of this, the evolution that you were talking about. So yeah, thanks for being on the show. I hope you have a good rest of your Friday.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, take care, Melmsie. Bye.
Bye.
All right, wait. I wanna reset my computer, and then I want to do my usual clap for our guest. All right, there we go. All right, thank you, Melmsie. Clap, 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 clap. Let me also reset some of these things. Okay, so sorry, I saw there was a raid in the middle of this, and thank you, Lena. I doubt you're still here, but any viewers who are still here, I do interviews every once in a while. This actually started partially because of Lena. She had me on her podcast, and I think if you go to, I think it's called Headshot Productions, right? Lena. This is probably not the way to search it. Oh, Headshot Podcast. Yeah. Oh, hey, there I am. Yeah. So I was on her podcast and I was like, this is fun. I should do this. So I started interviewing people, and I haven't done too many. I guess I can now move this into the past interviews here. But I've done, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4 are on YouTube so far, and I'll put this one on. So yeah, it's been good. What was the name of the book? The book was called Level Up, The Guide to Great Video Game Design by Scott Rogers. Yeah, and there's some questions for you, Melmsie, if you're happen to be watching the stream right now. Were you hyperactive as a kid? Did they prescribe you meds for ADHD? Don't everything you think is awesome? Yeah. Just reading through chat really fast. Okay, yeah. Beef. Yeah. Blood, sweat, and pixels. Yeah, so for those who hadn't gotten the link to this, this is the Dank Memer site, and here is the Cyber Info site. So I don't actually have any other interviews lined up. If anyone, I guess, has some expertise or some very interesting topic, feel free to message me. Or if you have a friend who has some expertise or some interesting topic to talk about, I am happy to sort of book more people. But it is roughly lunchtime for me now. So I had fun. I should interview Lana. I should interview Lana. Let me write that down. I should feel like, hey, I'm taking your idea and your show, and now I'm taking you onto my show. So interview stuff. Find someone else, maybe Lana. question mark, and put the Melmsie one online with the summary like I did for the last one, and link it in the doc. Yeah. Yeah, so this afternoon, what we're going to do is we're going to design the summoner and then start coding them in the game. Classic, thanks for resubbing. Likes this interview more than the others because it's game dev, even though the game is sort of unusual one. Yeah, and it's you know, I feel like there's no disservice to the discussion by talking about such an unusual game. A long time ago, I think I have something about this online. Let me take a look really fast. Yeah, this. A long time ago, I made a game. Do I have a picture of this? Is this a picture? This is. Hang on a second. Let me make sure this is okay to show. Yeah. So I bought a screen and a microcontroller and hooked this stuff up, and it was a touch screen, and I ended up making a game out of this for the office that I worked in. So people, as they were walking by my desk, could like play this game. And there's still game design for this. It's a rigid set of players. It can only be people who physically walk past. But it was interesting to come up with that sort of thing. So I think it's the same with a Discord game. It's like there are constraints that you have to work within that world, and yet it's still game design. All right, interview. Finished the Paladin, interviewed Melmsie, and started working on the summoner. Yeah. It's been so enlightening. Yeah, this is the other thing that I think awareness really helps with is, you know, there's certain things where it's like Coca-Cola does so much marketing that the awareness is just keep you top of mind. It's like there's probably no one on the planet who hasn't heard of Coca-Cola at this point. But with something like this, you might not have seen the same signs that other people see or know enough about it to know that, hey, maybe you've got this. Maybe you should get a diagnosis. Maybe you should figure out, what do I do now? And maybe it doesn't change anything, but that knowledge can empower you. You have to understand your audience and make the game for them. You can't please everyone. Yeah, I think you can't please everyone is just sort of a law. Unless everyone is an audience of one or something like that, then you can please everyone. But otherwise, it's like, yeah, as you scale something out, it's not going to appeal to everybody. And like Melmsie said in the interview, it's a decision sort of on the spectrum of, do I do this for myself or do I do it just based on the feedback of the players? And it needs to be somewhere in the middle. And I think just from my own sort of experience and looking at things, I think some people don't think about product market fit, and then they produce a product that people don't want and they blame the market. And maybe that's partially true that you can blame the market, but like you should be validating this as you go. Is your plan to stick with making games after 2024 or you go back to a tech company? My general plan is finish Skeleseller, then make a course on organization, and then figure out what my money situation is. And if it's good, then probably more games. Or more game dev, I guess. If it's not good, then probably more like tech content. Something like that. All right, but it is currently just after noon, so I'm going to go get lunch, and then post-lunch, like I said, is going to be the summoner work. And it'll go just like the Paladin did. We'll spend some time designing it. We'll spend some time coding it. We probably won't finish it today because I think I have to go at 4 or thereabouts. Yeah. Looking to sell on your website, or I'm not totally sure yet. And it's going to take at least a couple of like solid months to work on. This isn't something I can just kind of weave into a few hours here or there. But yeah, thank you all for being here. Thanks for watching. I hope you had fun. I definitely did. And here's Discord if you want to join. And here's YouTube if you want to watch. And other than that, that's all I have to say. So I'll see you all in about an hour. Take care.